Oh, me. I have a copy.
Well, duh. That would be a good thing.
Out here, Terry.
Tanya.
Is what?
It's
What?
tense.
The 84 Lakeview Circle.
No, we haven't started anything yet.
You're 3 minutes early.
I didn't know when I would be able to find it on YouTube.
Oh,
The camera's on.
is the video on YouTube yet?
Yep.
No. It doesn't necessarily post right away, does it? Is it just playing live on YouTube? That's what I'm trying to find. Is this live on YouTube? Yes. Okay. Is it not working? No. Tim, it should be on there now.
Okay.
Just turned it on.
And this Jackie.
There's gonna be this is the one that Julie just gave us. Oh, they're two different properties.
Well, Michelle.
Yeah, mine's showing.
4, I got it.
Make sure it's not too loud or it'll echo back on us, Tim. Yeah, he's calling on us.
I know.
Michelle, can you sign checks?
Sure.
And the first one is for mine because I messed up his paycheck. So additional.
It's always nice to see that.
Thank you.
Mr. Lodge.
Yeah. You know, myself discussions so late, it makes me depressed. I just skip it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I have been
Ready?
Yep.
All right, we're gonna get started now. Pledge of allegiance. Come on in, Justin. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting is called to order. I want to welcome everyone for being here tonight. We're going to start with a roll call. Michelle,
Here.
Annie,
Here.
Brett, Justin,
Yes.
and Tim via telephone. I take that as a yes.
So just a reminder for everybody that since he's on speakerphone, it's a one-way speaker. So if we make noise on this end, it will actually cut out his speaker, so we won't be able to hear him. So if he's talking, we have to be quiet, including like stuff on the table, or it'll cut it off,
Okay,
and vice versa.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out.
That's one way to keep you.
Now we know how to
Tim.
shut him up.
Anybody have anything you want to add to the agenda?
I would actually.
Okay.
Brief discussion, I don't know where you want to put it, but, given mandate.
Do you want that under continuing business
Let's
or?
do it continuing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just McGivern. Update.
Put it after the December 26th council meeting. Anyone have anything else? Okay,
We do adopt the agenda with the changes. I'll second.
we have a motion to approve the agenda with changes, seconded by Brett. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed?
Aye.
Gotcha, Tim. Thank you. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes of November 14th?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Brett, seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion? Discussion, Tim, or are you just,
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Okay, those in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved, 5-0.
I'll move to approve appropriation 1501.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve appropriation ordinance number 1501, seconded by Annie. You got the approval by Brett.
Is
Any
the treasurer, oh, I'm sorry, is the treasurer a bond payment or?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the gas.
Okay.
That the new one that we had to take out for the 2020, the whatever you want to call that, emergency gas.
Okay, in AFCO.
That's
So
that's the playground, and we'll reimburse that
Okay.
fully.
All right, yeah, just different types of.
it is, yeah. And my computer froze, like, because when I do an update, that's typically the report that I give you guys, and it gives the breakdown of like all the funds, and then it wouldn't print, and I couldn't get that report to pop back up. So this was kind of the best I could do. So I apologize for that. But if you guys want to know like what funds, whatever, let me know. I can send. So
That looks looking a little different.
yeah, yeah.
I like that. It's nice.
Do you like this one better?
Yeah, I don't
mean,
know. Yeah,
yeah.
it is nice to know what things are for because you usually have like a comment line on it.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion on appropriation ordinance 1501? Okay, roll call vote. Michelle,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we're opening the floor to comments from the public. I have, okay,
The byway was donated a nativity scene for the city of Eskridge to use. And we're gonna put it in the byway park because I think the other park already has grand plans for their Christmas decorations. So we're gonna put a nativity scene in the byway park. So all I'm asking for, it doesn't require electricity. It'll just have a solar light on it. And all I'm asking is if I could get some rebar or old metal or anything that they may have laying around the shop. That's the right pieces I need because that's plastic. It'll just be setting over the top of the rebar. The other request would be a spot of gravel to put underneath the merry-go-round that's been delivered to the park up there, but it's not sitting in its permanent location where we're gonna leave it, the old merry-go-round. So if I could have a small batch of gravel that will go under the merry-go-round and some pieces of metal, I would greatly appreciate it.
is this merry-go-round a permanent structure or
Yes,
is it
it
actually
will not
working?
move, it will not spin, it will be permanent. It will just sit still as a memento, what was. And
Okay.
now we have what is, we will have what was.
Okay,
Where's that at?
Down here, I call it the byway park where we put the little,
Okay, yeah, the triangle.
Rod
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that, the byway's trying to just do little things with it. We're gonna try to put, different memorabilia from the city. I've asked some of the guys if I could have some stones from some of these buildings and writing on them and stuff, and we're gonna put a berm down there eventually.
Okay, cool.
Is that just known as a stone wall? What is that known as?
It's a dry stone.
Dry stone.
Fence.
It's what they used over 100 years ago when they were separating.
And we have the only one with the triangle in it. It's the first one that our crew built.
Okay.
We built like 25 fences, and that was our first one like that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have any problem if we've got the scrap around that we can donate. Does anybody have a concern, question about that?
Any issues with travel?
We're gonna put something underneath.
Yes, I had a tarp put under it.
Okay.
You know, I already have.
Ground to keep the weeds from growing up?
Yeah, I have something already, weed barrier already.
Okay. All right, I will get with the city crew and we'll get you what you need.
Thank you. And the byway, thank you. And the folks that donated it, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Richard.
Question, is the city involved in any of the efforts trying to recover the gas charges from 2 or 3 years ago when we had the cold weather? I know there are efforts going on within the state. Are we involved in that?
We will only be involved if it gets approved. But we're not an active participant in what's going on to get that resolved.
But if something gets
It would be-
approved,
she
we
might
would
have-
benefit from that.
I'm
Our
pretty sure.
gas supplier, so KMGA is actively involved. Last I heard, they were in. I mean, they have a case.
Ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Which if you remember in 2001, during the terrorist attacks, the gasoline stations around the state raised prices to $5 and $6 a gallon. Does everybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That happened. And then the state came back and sued them and they had to refund everybody that bought gas. And I don't remember what the outcome on that was. If you had a receipt, you got a full refund. If you didn't have a receipt, I don't know how you got reimbursed, but they had to pay these people back. Plus they were fined. So to me, that's not any different than what happened to us a couple of years ago when we went into the emergency situation and gas prices just skyrocketed. It's like they took advantage.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I saw it.
Every chance.
And I'm sure that's what prompted that lawsuit. So hopefully it won't drag out forever and a day and we'll get some relief. Thank you, Richard. Anybody else? Public concerns, comments?
I had something, just that a couple people had told me that the videos they tried to watch has no sound to it. So they were wondering.
The last one didn't, and that was my bad. It's because I got a new speaker and I was charging it and I left it plugged into the laptop. So I'm pretty sure it picked up on that speaker rather than this one.
shoot.
Yeah. So that was my fault for the last meeting. It should be resolved now.
Okay.
So
Oh, now.
I tested it today. So
Cool.
Okay, moving on, department reports. Stephanie?
honestly, I really don't have much. There was something that came up a while ago, which I don't know if you guys really need to know, but the harvesters that they do back here, they talked about moving it down to the park. I don't know if anyone talked to you about that, Annie,
No.
but they just kind of wanted to know if that would be okay with the city. And as far as I know, I don't think we have like a contract with them. I honestly don't really know how that works. I think they just do it here, right? I don't know.
I say as
If
long as they're
anyone-
gonna do it where you're
Yeah,
gonna do it.
Okay, so they just talked about how long the line gets, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like clear around. So they talked about maybe it would be better down at the park.
I think
so.
that's, yeah, try
That's
to
great.
Yeah,
ease that issue.
I figured you guys wouldn't care, but
Sometimes the, if
Thought I
the
would
line's
ask.
too long, they make two lines.
Mhm.
So that would actually be more beneficial at the park. You have a bigger, wider area.
Mhm.
so I'll tell Carla who's in charge of that. And I think that's it.
Tim, did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Okay. Now, Becky, Frank, do you have any comments for the department report? It's not on the agenda, but,
I just have 2 resolution letters that I turned in
okay, and they're ready to be sent out, correct?
after, I get a number on,
You guys have to approve these.
after that.
Everybody should have,
That's what I meant, I put a number on it, by the way.
all right,
First is 212 Cedar.
okay,
There's 2 of them.
right.
Have a number of these.
Be
Yeah,
like
as soon as they make a motion to approve it, I guess.
be today's date and then today's date -2 or
Yeah.
so 11/28/22. Do you have to do -1?
There's 2 of them, yeah, -1.
You do -1, yeah.
And then 11/28/22.
Yeah, the first one would be numbered 11/28/22-1.
212 Cedar.
And the second one, 212 Locust, will be number 11/28/22-2.
Move to adopt both resolutions.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Justin to adopt both resolutions, seconded by Annie. Is there any further discussion?
I'm not there to read either one, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, gotcha.
I did have one more thing.
Oh, you got to vote first.
All right. No further discussion. Those in favor? Those opposed? And one abstain.
Abstain.
Gotcha. Okay, Becky, what else you got?
Those 2 trees down there that were supposed to be cut down are still there.
Okay. So, Tim, what do you know about the trees? Because we approved that contract for that man to come out and do it.
I don't know. I let Stephanie contact him. I think Stephanie took something to him. Stephanie, has he responded to you?
Yeah, we talked and he said he would get it taken care of, so.
Oh, if not, I have another name of somebody else that can do it.
So he didn't give me a timeline or anything, but he said he would cut him down and haul him off. You want me to ask him? Is that what you
They
said?
want to stay out of the middle of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
Yeah, since it's
I don't see any purchase requests or work orders. So we're gonna move past that. Next thing, I'm sorry.
Sign the back of those 2.
Yes.
Stephanie, so I have to go ahead and mail them. Or
Yes,
get a letter to them.
yes. Okay, new city business. First up, we have a state fish biologist. His name is Eli Sprinkle, if I pronounced that correctly.
Yes.
Good, very good. And he has brought a young man with him, so if we have questions that revolve around wildlife and parks, we can ask him as well. So Eli, if you'd step forward or
Sure.
speak up loud enough where everybody can
Where do
see
you want
and
me
hear
to
you.
stand? Right here?
That's fine, yeah.
So I'm a fisheries biologist with the state. A little overview. My job is, so it's a fee-based agency. We use fishing license fees. And I use that money to, funds my job and my work. And the majority of my job is based on simply making the best fishing possible. So I do that a lot of different ways. Majority of my job involves fish sampling and evaluating fish populations and manage them. Other parts of my job it includes managing different programs. So this particular program Tim asked me to talk about is our CFAP program. It's our community fisheries assistance program. So it's where we, the state, pays entities like yourself to allow public access on properties that you own. So I have 6 counties, so I have a lot of these. So like City of Manhattan has Jerry Dishman Lake, so we pay them to allow to not charge an additional fishing license. And so we partnered that agreement. So we use fishermen's dollars to open up access for them, and then that's also creates a partnership with us where we do fish management, include sampling and stocking, and just an active management program through that. And so the history of the department with this lake is we've been sampling this lake since the mid 80s, I believe. That continued on till our program changed, and we did stockings through that time. And then when we implemented this program, any lakes that were not willing to sign on to the full, so we have 2 versions of the program. We have a basic level and then an enhanced. And so the basic level, your city is still in agreement with us. We have an MOU from 2004 signed. So you're in that in the basic program, so where we're not paying you. And then, so the enhanced program is where we're actually making those payments. And so in the basic program, you're still where we can liaison and we can do work, but all of the work that I do as a scoring matrix with it. And so since you charge an additional permit, you're going to be at the bottom of those. And so you're pretty much going to be left out of all fish stockings. We continued fish sampling up until 2013. And then due to multiple reasons, we've suspended fish sampling at the lake. So, but we still have the agreement, all that we can still all do that. So now, if you were to enroll in this program, the main caveat is you cannot restrict access to anglers. And so then there's a pay scale on how much you open it up. Depending on a few variables, it would be somewhere between $6,500 and $7,500 a year. We would pay you to not charge a fishing license.
What's that based on?
So there's a $10. It's based on surface acres. So there's a $10 basic per surface acre, and then so there's $5 for if you do a habitat plan with us, $5 if you have a minimum basic fishery, $5 if you allow boating access, another $5 if you enter a habitat plan with us. There's one if you have like restrooms and other like what we consider family friendly atmosphere. So it would range between most likely $30 to $35 per surface acre per year is what we would pay. And then so then if you're in that program, then you'd instantly be eligible for our stockings. You would score high enough that we would re-implement all the stockings that we previously did, fish stockings. Historically, here we stock channel catfish every year, and then sawguy every year. And then it also, you're currently eligible for our grant program. So we have you can put in for a grant every year. Say you wanted to put in a new public dock. And so there's a grant you can put in every year for up to $40,000. Of our money, you would have a minimum 25% cost share. You're eligible for that now with our basic MOU, but you're also, once again, you're going to be on the low end. So if we run out of money, you'd be the first one to cut. So if you were in the enhanced program, you would be more eligible for those grants, much more competitive. So I went through that pretty quick. I have copies of a lot of different information, any that you want to focus on. So I'm a fish biologist, so I'm kind of the intermediate with this program. So we have an actual grant coordinator out of Pratt. It's more the expert on all the legal documents, but I can answer most of the questions on it.
Okay.
The $6,500 to $7,500, was that the city paying you, or is that you paying the city for lost revenue and for fishing licenses? I guess I didn't get that. Which way that transaction?
That would be the state would pay this whoever. So in this case would be the city. We would pay you that an annual fee of it. Now, I gotta look at it. A certain percentage of it does have to be spent back on the fishery itself. So however, that there's some pretty vague interpretation of that, like mowing around the boat ramp or anything that upkeep of the bathrooms on there. So a certain percentage of that does have to be spent on the facility.
Possibly things we do
Right.
anyway.
Already stuff you're already doing, most likely is going to count. Late man hours, yeah, all that stuff counts.
Okay.
Now, is that the only charge that the city would have?
I'm sorry.
Is that the only charge the city would have to your program?
Yeah, so so you just have to basically report. You'll have an annual report where you're showing that you're meeting that cost share annually. So you have to submit an annual report showing that.
Okay.
That's the only real obligation on your end.
Okay. We have a question back here.
Now, you said we're not allowed to, if you do that, to restrict anglers fishing, correct?
That's the basic.
So if they don't get a boat permit, they would be allowed to go on the lake with their boats?
So
How does that work?
So this would be, you could either not allow boat fishing at all, or you can allow boat fishing for everybody. And so I have a lake like Centralia City Lake that's in this program. And so they allow anglers to go out and boat. But once they have to put the skis out, then they legally, by their requirement, have to have their city boating permit. And so you would theoretically lose boating revenue for anybody that was just going angling, but you could retain it for anybody that wanted to buy, for other purposes than angling.
That would be hard to,
That's a lose-lose.
if you are not on the lake to catch them, you're losing that.
And that would be a city ordinance that, as far as I know, that we cannot enforce that part of it. That would be your responsibility to ensure that they have that permit.
Oh, so we can still charge them for a city boating permit. We just can't charge them for a city fishing license.
No, you couldn't, if they're here to fish,
Oh, yeah, that's a lose-lose.
then you couldn't.
That's why I'm asking. because
And
you
once the
said
word
that
gets
comment
out,
that-
Yeah, that's.
everybody's gonna be fishing.
That's a big loss. That's a huge.
Well, you can do it the instant they put the skis out, then they would have to have.
Yeah,
So it's
we don't
not
have
just that they
anything.
have a boat out there.
Everybody-
But
But
that-
pontoon boats, all that. I mean, they could just be like, "We're fishing."
Just
When they're not.
make sure you carry a fishing pole in your boat.
But for the example, the lake that we have, people can go fish all day, but once they put the skis out, then they're breaking their city ordinance, and then they have to have it. So
And who enforces that?
the city, they have.
So I couldn't get Lieutenant Jesse to do it for us, enforce it, could I? Yeah.
And see, we have a problem enforcing anything right now, and how can we, and who do we get, and like that's not even figured out yet. So
You
that would
guys
just
don't
be
have a
a
program
nightmare.
that just entitles no fishing permits and putting fish in the lake? So we could probably lose the revenue
So
from the
the-
fishing permit.
So the problem with it is the charging of anglers a boating permit. So if there's any hindrance to angling,
I got you.
and specifically in this matter, it would be treating anglers different than the residents with the permit.
And we have a bunch that are both. They will come out some and angle fish, and then they come out and they play with their family on the lake.
Sure.
So how would you?
We would have to patrol it.
Right, that would.
And.
How
it's illegal
feasibly
us
would you
not to
think
do
that would be?
Because these guys are not officers.
Correct.
They cannot,
Well, they can't do it.
you guys cannot forcibly go up and say, hey, you gotta have a permit. You should not go up and forcibly talk to that person and get in an argument or a, kind of a contest with them. So they basically have to let them go. So they're fishing.
I don't know who would
boating
have
and fishing for free.
said that, but this is the third time I've been here on the same subject, and I don't believe I've ever said anything like that.
No, I've talked to Fishing Game. I called them and asked them.
Who?
At the state level. I can't remember his name, but I talked to a person there, but we are not to try, our people who are not officers, to try to enforce that from you, because they aren't equipped to take the brunt.
And some of the
Those
lakes,
people.
they do have their city law enforcement go out
Yeah, we
and
don't have
make a
that right now.
presence.
Yeah,
We don't have law
Yeah,
enforcement
Yeah,
at
we
all.
used to.
Problem.
Nope.
Yeah.
We don't have that right now.
So there's no way to
Sure.
enforce.
The city
Okay.
has a gated boat ramp.
Mhm.
Would that be allowed under your program? Where the gates
It,
give access or?
you would have to have it manned all the time. It would be something I haven't really thought about how it would apply to her, but long story short, no. I mean, if you had it gated at any time and not somebody there to open it, then the problem would be giving beneficial. So would be viewing this as a public. So in public aspects for my job, everybody has to be able to access it equally. So if you have it gated, but it's open from 8 to 5 or something.
Mhm.
So, but if you have a resident there that can launch their boat at 6 o'clock and start fishing, then they're getting preferential treatment than the general public.
But as
So
long as nobody had preferential treatment, it would be the gated boat ramp would be allowed under your program.
I would have to think about it more, I guess. I'm not sure.
Technically, anybody with a boat lift though has got access 24/7. I mean,
Right.
just drop
So-
and go. So
That's what I meant. So anybody with a boat parked there overnight would have better access than the general public. Because if,
That is the case.
Yeah.
right. So then that would be a problem for this program.
I see.
And then, I'm not here to really push this program or anything. This is, I'm using angler dollars to use what's best. If it works for everyone, then great. But, I'm just here to tell you how we see and enforce the program.
I have a question. So, with that, can you restrict the lake during like events like algae blooms or inspect for invasive species for people at Lake Pump and stuff like that? How do you do that with your program?
Kansas Department of Health and Environment is the one that does it for blue green algae. They recommend closures and warnings and all that. That's all through a completely different department.
But would that violate your contract though?
No, because that's,
Okay.
I mean, if you're closing it for health and safety concerns or, then yeah, that's completely different. And then for the inspections, we do allow some cities, still to do their zebra mussel inspection fee. And so we even have an online form that they can do it. So, I can get you a list of other cities that do some of this stuff so they can see how they did it. Like Council Grove City Lake, is fairly close, is in the program. Centralia City Lake, like I've been talking about. Other ones, City Alma is in, it's quite a bit different lake. But Council Grove City Lake, it does have a lot of, public boat ramps or docks around it, so it would be similar to this. There's a lake down by Marion that's also similar, that's in the program. So,
are they all Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks lakes though?
no, so they're,
Are they all private?
this program is for publicly owned, what we consider publicly owned properties, usually city or counties. But like this instance where you're restricting access to the general public anglers. So this is a partnership program basically to buy you out. And so that pay matrix that I use to give the 6,500 to 7,500 estimate, we also have a caveat in there. If you are making more than that in fishing license sales, then we have the option to match that to buy you out. But that wouldn't include your boating permit because that is separate.
Yep.
And this is a contract for how many years?
We typically do them for 5 years. It's fairly easy to get out on your end, a 30-day written notice. And the caveat would be, if it's in the middle of a year, then you're going to be responsible for informing the public that it's no longer open, and then you would need to pay us back. If you'd already received payment, then you would have to prorate it back. And if we've already stocked fish, then we would hold reserve the right to ask for payment of those fish. the sampling is not, that's just part of my job. That's not something we would ask back for, so. Right. But,
Makes sense.
Okay.
all right. If you want copies of any of that, I have the copy of the original MOU from 2004. As far as we're concerned, it's still active. But we haven't really been following it. This is my last fish sampling report from data. It's 2013, so it's pretty dated, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we do for management.
And this is for Lake Wabunsee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'd
this is
like to see
specific
it.
to that. This is you paid a private company in 2016 to come in and sample the lake for one day. This is a copy of their report. I can give you my evaluation of that. There's also a record of all the fish stockings we've done clear back to 1971. So you can kind of get an idea of what we've stocked since that time. And then this is a copy of the actual grant program that I'm talking about. So it have some of those intricacies that maybe I didn't articulate very well. So all that information's in there. And then, be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
You have one.
Yeah.
Approximately, what is the cost for you guys to stock the lake? Privately, we pay a certain amount right now. What would your guys's be between the amounts of for you to stock?
Since we're a public entity, you can't pay us to do it. So, but
what you pay to have that done.
well, we raise our own fish. So
Okay.
Milford Fish Hatchery is a multi-million-dollar facility and stocks, millions of fish a year that I couldn't do that math off the top of my head. But so there's a lot involved there. And we have a lot of full-time staff. We have 4 fish hatcheries around the state that's run continuously. And so there's some different models, like walleye is one of our most expensive things to produce, to get a fish to harvestable size. So our cost estimate is something like $18 per harvestable size fish. So so the number of fish we got to stock in to get, fish to harvestable size. So catfish are much cheaper, but they're much easier to grow in the hatchery systems and reproduce and produce them at a much higher rate. So it varies by species and size of species, fish we stock. Channel catfish, we stock them bigger because they're highly susceptible to predation when they're small. It means they get eaten really easy. So we grow them bigger so they have a higher survival. Saugeye is what we used to stock here. It's a hybrid between walleye and sauger. For a variety of different reasons, they survive a lot better here. But we stock those at a much smaller size because it's so hard to grow them bigger. But they have pretty good survival metrics, even for their small size. So there's a lot of different things, and some other fish we've stocked here.
Now, do you guys make the decision on what fish get stocked here, or is it that the city council can request a certain amount?
You can
How does
request.
that- how does that
Ultimately, it
work?
would come to my decision. And according to the MOU that we currently have signed with you, if you guys stock anything, you have to get my permission. And so, just FYI, it's not something that isn't overly concerned for me, but that is what the current structure we have. So it would be, so it's based on my recommendations based on biological data. So I would come out and sample the populations, evaluate them. In fishery science is usually a lot more complicated than what people think. So like a lot of times people love to catch and eat walleye and saugeye, but the main reason I'm stocking them is not for them, but because the crappie are overpopulated. So I'm using saugeye to reduce the number of crappies, so the average size of crappie gets bigger where people want to harvest them. So, the crappie has been a problematic, through the historical record of our data here, that it's high numbers of small fish. And the only time we've been able to correct that has been getting elevated numbers of saugeye to reduce the crappie and makes better product for anglers. So that's the way I'm doing my science is I'm using fish I stock And I'm also using the anglers at time to shape the population to make a better fish population, to make the best fishing possible. So like catfish, I'm stocking just for anglers to harvest, but other fish I'll stock. Like we've historically stocked some wiper here, and that was to help reduce the gizzard shad population because the gizzard shad here are overpopulated and hurts the crappie population. So there's a lot going on there. But
Now, is that something that we can purchase from you?
no,
Okay.
we cannot
It's fish.
we cannot sell these. They're only to go to public use and public waters.
What about grass carp?
We've stocked grass carp in the past. So yeah, I mean, we stocked them in low dose or low rates. I couldn't quote it off the top of my head, but we've stocked them here at times.
Fish takes care of too many small bass.
Well, so that's depends on what your problem with is too many small bass. So once again, so saw guy we use to, like I said, I use to reduce the number of crappie to increase the crop. Well, saw guy are eradicated from here because we haven't stocked them long enough. They're gone. Walleye never reproduced at high enough rate here. I'm assuming they're gone. So your only predator capable of reducing the crappie population is the bass population. So it depends on what you want. If you want bigger bass, then you want to reduce the number of bass and the average size of bass gets bigger. But that is necessarily going to reduce the average size of your panfish, crappie, bluegill, and this lake also has yellow perch. So you're going to reduce the average size of the fish that people like to harvest typically. So that's more, so we do creel surveys and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out what anglers that visit this lake particularly like. So I'll shape that population. So in that example, either for bigger bass or for bigger crappie. But in a lake, it's hard to have both. And so I'll usually try to balance that out. With Sawguy, once you enter Sawguy, then you have that option to get Sawguy and bigger bass and maintain the crappie. Sawguy is a wonderful management tool for us. Then you said you had another question?
No, I was
Oh, okay, sorry.
going at the person.
I have one more question, Mr. Sprinkle. A lot of people tell me, I hear both sides of the story. What's your opinion? Do bass tournaments, are they bad for the fish or not?
It depends on what you consider bad. So there's catch and release tournaments. There's what we consider a variable called hooking mortality. Every time you catch a fish, there's a percentage chance it dies. The best case scenario with largemouth bass, we usually range between 6 to 10% hooking mortality. So just having a recreational tournament, you are going to have some mortality. It's probably on the low enough side. But if you have a bass tournament in July, your hooking mortality is going to go up as your water temperature goes up. So generally speaking, your tournaments don't have a big impact on your bass populations. They tend to have a weigh-in at one spot, so your bass can artificially get concentrated, where they all release them in one spot. So there's some additional stressors on the system, but in general, they're not problematic overly, in my opinion.
Thank you.
As long as, and we have some rules for bass tournaments that they have to follow to limit those negative aspects.
Is it more of an intensive stocking? I guess at first, is there, I guess, more effort on the front end of that 5 years to get the fish populations evened out? Twice as many fish the first year than the second year.
It would depend. It depends on when you were getting the program, So right now, I'm figuring out what I'm going to request from our hatchery systems to produce next calendar year. So our hatcheries can then figure out what they will produce. So if you enrolled, say today, I would anticipate, on the higher end this first year, but also with a plan for intensive sampling for this calendar year to get a good handle of the population to see what I need to do. Because so I'm what's considered a management biologist. So I'm managing the fish populations, and I equate it to managing your checkbook. You can't manage your checkbook if you don't know how much money's in there. So half of my job is trying to figure out what the fish population looks like so I can manage it. Okay. And so that would be my focus that first year would be get the handle on the population to see what we need to get the populations where I think would be the best for the, and every body of water is managed differently to the best of its potential. So, I mean, this lake would, you know, I manage Total Creek Reservoir, so this would be drastically different than what I'm trying to do there.
Yeah, but I bet half of our voters are fishermen. So that would lose out half of your boating permit revenue. If we, you would lose out on half of your boating permit revenue, and that was always, it'd be at least $20,000.
You would lose it more. You would lose more.
Well, I'm at least. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but.
No, like I said, I'm here just to, I'm not trying to sell this program. This is what it is. And if it works for you, then we'll do what we can. If it doesn't work for you, then we'll continue on as is.
Time's up.
All right. Let me know if you have any more questions.
I thought I turned that off. Sorry. Apparently I
You
did.
guys can still, Mr. Beamore here, you guys can still come out to our lake though and get people who don't have a state license, correct? If they just come and fish willy-nilly, you still check their state licenses.
As long as you're in this, the base program, yes. Going away from that negates any of my enforcement powers on the lake.
So
Since we're not in this program, you don't have to come out, ever.
No. We're in it
We're
now,
in the
but if we
base
go to the
program.
Oh, I
advanced,
see.
he can't do anything.
What, the way you are now, then yes, I can. Not
Yeah,
just the,
yeah,
not the city permits.
right,
I can't enforce that. I can
Right.
warn people if I choose, but I can't enforce.
sure.
let me ask you a question as well, if you don't mind. The county sheriff's office has a program where we can hire an off-duty officer to work our areas. Does Wildlife and Parks have such a program? No. Okay.
Not currently, no.
I made copies for them, so.
I'm sure you guys working up hours anyway. You probably don't want to throw some overtime out there.
It would have to be employment, off duty through the city. And some people do sort of a lot of our guys work off duty when they're not working for the state.
Right.
They work off duty.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
One of the
I
first
mean,
things.
it's like a part-time job.
And since you're already officer trained in full powers, then we wouldn't have to worry about.
We couldn't use any of our state issued equipment. But you'd have to purchase, so the officer would have to purchase his own equipment or get reimbursed or however you want to do it.
Right.
And that, if an officer so chooses, then yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll be in touch with you in that aspect in some way, I'm sure. Can't say so much for you, Mr. Eli.
No.
At this point, what the county's going to want, the council's going to want to do. Does anybody have any more questions for either of these two gentlemen? I do thank you for coming and very informative. We've got your copies of the information you sent, and I'll certainly be looking it over.
Sure.
If you have any questions, I'll contact you, okay? Very good.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk about the fishery, that's part of my job. Even though you're not in the enhanced program, we have the basic, and it's still part of my job. It's within my district, so anything advice you want, or if you want to get back into sampling the lake at some level, we can talk about that. So yeah, I still can do some work here, but it's limited by some extent.
Okay. Very good.
And the only way you can sample the lake is if we're in the enhanced. where you
No,
use the
we sampled it for almost a decade after it wasn't. It was, yeah.
Very good. We probably have about an hour left that you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to. It's up to you. But
Yeah.
all right, thank you again. Appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you're up.
Hello, everyone. You can go ahead and pass these around if you don't mind. My name is Chris Plan, the owner of Culligan Technologies. I've managed the city's IT infrastructure for many years now. I come up on the council every once in a while. Last time it was when Dolly was the mayor. We change our managed service provider plans from time to time. That's what's happening in 2023. We're actually shrinking down what we're going to be offering into 3 plans: a pay-as-you-go, which offers SaaS, which SaaS stands for Software as a Service. So this would be like your antivirus, things like that, firewall services that you pay for annually to keep them up and regulated with protections. And that's listed out in your estimates. And then I have 2 estimates on here. One is the pay-as-you-go, and the other one just has the managed IT services and the co-managed. Currently, if we were to take the managed service plan we're on this year for the city, it would be the co-managed. The difference between the managed IT service and the co-managed is the co-managed is where the city pays for all the hardware at your own replacement schedule. So if you bought a server 10 years ago and you still don't want to replace it for 10 more years, that's on you. We'll support it, manage it until it dies, and then the city would have to pay for it. And that's what the co-managed service is. We'll still manage it. We'll try and keep it functioning. A good example is you had a hard drive die in your server this year. City had to pay for the hard drive to get replaced. It came out here, took care of it. It doesn't cost you on labor when the co-managed or the IT managed. So you don't pay the hourly rate, and our rates are going up on the pay-as-you-go to 100 for on-site visits and 60 for remote. So that's the nice thing about co-managed, because we do spend about 8 to 12 hours a month managing your services. This is going through EDR logs, which is endpoint detection response, firewall logs, checking out the health, making sure you're getting all the updates. It's very, very important to have these done. I can give you an example. Just this last month, checking out your firewall logs, the city had 35,000 attacks on your firewall for people trying to get into your system to steal your information. And this is actually on the low end. We have some cities like the city of Holton, they've had over 1 million in a month. And these are really common things now with hackers and groups trying to get to public information or HIPAA information. And it's one reason I want to replace our firewall next year to a more enterprise grade. Currently, you're on a small business solution firewall. It does do pretty good IPS protection, packet sniffing, stuff like that. But I want to go to an enterprise, which will protect the city more. The managed IT is a contracted plan. We do it in 5 and 7 years. The biggest difference is if we do IT managed, you fall under the HAS, which is hardware as a service. So we will replace the entire infrastructure on our replacement schedule, servers every 7 years, workstations every 5, monitors every 5. And it's listed in this documentation. And the city doesn't pay anything for that. So when the server is due for replacement next year, that could cost up to 10, 12 grand, depending on the server we get and the storage amount you get, especially with IT costs going up. The city wouldn't have to pay that on our IT managed, but if they were on the co-managed or pay-as-you-go, the city would have to upfront that cost. It's the same thing as if your switch died, or Stephanie's computer died, or the server died. There would be no support besides we'll fix it once you buy it. We'll work with, on the co-managed, we'll work with manufacturers if it has warranty to replace it and get it up and running. But those usually expire between 3 to 7 years, depending on the product. But under the managed IT, if the warranty isn't supported by a manufacturer, we cover it through the whole contract. So if the server died in 6 years, Dell didn't want to pay for manufacturer warranty on it, we would replace the whole service at our cost. And it's all calculated into that contract. And these are monthly figures. So the 5-year contract for that, it will seem really high to you guys. It's $2,261.67 a month. But once you take into the account of how much it costs for the hardware replacement in the 5-year or 7-year cycles, just the estimate on the 5-year cost for the city's current IT infrastructure, if you replace it on our replacement recommended schedule, is $45,000 every 5 years. And I have that listed in here and what our current replacement schedule looks like. Granted, if the city goes with the co-managed or pay-as-you-go, you guys can push that back as far as you like, or until the system dies. But you'll take responsibility for that because the server dies. Luckily, we do manage backups, so we're good there. But if the city didn't want to pay for managed backups anymore, you could lose all your data. So that's why it's good to have the co-managed, because all that's figured into the plan, or the IT managed, is we can do the backups, we can recover it, and it's not going to cost you anything with the co-managed or IT managed, but the pay-as-you-go would be per hour, either remote or on-site. And we do SLAs of critical 48 hours response, and that's on business days. So 48 hours business days, or 2 business days. And then regular service is 7 business days. Granted, we usually respond to this much quicker than that, but those are our stated SLAs for our co-managed and IT managed. SaaS, we currently spend about every 5 years $50,000. And this could be from Microsoft server licenses, anti-malware, your 24/7 monitoring and reporting software, SOC compliance scanning. SOC is pretty much just maintaining the infrastructure, making sure someone's not stealing your data, watching what traffic goes through your firewall, who plugs in what USBs, what kind of data they're taking, and that's to protect the city. So if we started noticing, hey, Joe Bob here plugged in USB and he's been transferring 1 terabyte of data every week, we'd be like, hey, Stephanie, this person might be up to no good. So we could notify her. The new thing we're going to start next year is employee security awareness training. One of the biggest threats right now to IT industries and customers is people coming in and taking a hold of your data through forced practices. I could come in and say, hey, I'm here to look at your server. I could go plug in a dongle and upload a virus. Granted, Stephanie, this is a small enough city, she would know, hey, you're not an IT person. But some places are big enough that they can be taken advantage of. I'll give you an example of it. I just recently did a white hat hacking for Evergy up in the Jackson County sector. I was in their networks in 15 seconds because they had an unprotected Wi-Fi. So I went up to one of their substations and I saw they had a hidden SSID. I connected to it. I had access to the entire state's power grid. I had access to their servers. So I worked with Evergy's IT security and I gave them my report, which I'm a certified white hat hacker with the US government. And I give them my report, how I attacked, where I did it. And I do this for other places. I've worked with City of Topeka, Topeka Police Department, City of Holton. So I don't just do that for anyone. I include that service for free on my co-managed and managed IT. I'll hack the city here at least once or twice a year to see if I can break through my own encryption. And if I can break through it, I know how to protect it so someone else can. And I monitor that weekly in reports, and I make sure that no one's getting through that shouldn't be through. Now, one thing I will say that helps you guys is Mercury does lock down their internet pretty good. We've learned with VPNs because we've had Stephanie try to work from home and they blocked us completely. So they do add a little bit of extra security there for you guys. And I've worked with them on solutions with the new firewalls. If we put them in next year, depending if you go with the IT managed, co-managed, or pay as you go, or if we even get the new firewalls, depending on the city's decision. They said that they will work and they'll make sure to pull polls so Stephanie could work from home in the future if she needs to. Another thing is this building needs a network upgrade. And one of the things I talked to Mike about was doing some updated drops, redoing all the cabling. Instead of having it all hidden behind that main door in the office where the clerk sits, I want to bring it to the server room and upgrade all your old Cat 5 and Cat 5e to 6A. The benefit there is Cat 6A can transfer up to 10 gigabytes. So I would also bring up the network here to 2.5 gigabytes per second. And then that would give better throughput to the users locally, to the servers. We have a couple 100 megabyte runs still in here. That does slow down, mostly in this back office. So It's actually faster to use Wi-Fi back there. So rewiring the building, and that was also included in the IT managed, and that's why it's a little bit higher too. It's usually recommended to be done every 10 years, 20 years, depending on the technology. 6A would last you guys easily 10, 15 years.
Can we go up to 7 or, I mean, there's not that much difference.
You
between
can go up to
6 and 7.
1 terabyte per second, but you're looking at astronomical costs. 2.5 for client based. I don't see you guys would ever need more than that right now. One thing about the IT manages, I also would purchase 2 servers in what they call HA, which is high availability. So it'd be running 2 servers side by side. If server A dies, server B would take over. You guys have no downtime. I'd be able to work with my Dell partner, Synology partner to get that fixed while this one's still running the daily business. And that is an advantage, and that does drive up the cost, of course. Hardware as a service is becoming more popular for people who don't want to have to worry about budgeting costs, especially unexpected, like the server dies and then we've got to chunk out 12 grand. Does the city have to budget? Versus this, you can plan out your budget for the whole year. So far, I have 7 cities and townships, and all of them have gone with IT managed except for one that's co-managed. So they do see the benefit in it. The closest to what you guys currently have is the co-managed. And the co-managed is fine as well. We still manage everything. You just have, the city takes more responsibility in the replacement when it happens, the costs and stuff like that. Big information on what we do is probably the most important upgrade we've made here to the city, of course, is the server we have there, but backing it up, we have 3 backups. So we have the local backup. I have professional servers. It's encrypted backups to me, and then it's encrypted up into the cloud in a secure government backup. So you have 3 backups. So if this city burns down and you lose this building and that server, I have your data. If my building burns down, the cloud has data. So they call that a 3-2-1 backup plan. You always want to have your data in multiple points for protection. Some places like to do it monthly on a USB and putting it down at the bank in the vault. That's probably the cheapest option, but this way it's automated. No one has to watch it. I do integrity checks every month, which means I use Veeam, which is one of the most popular backup sources, and I'll restore on your server your servers. So it'll restore it to an old time. It won't be connectable, but I could go, okay, this backup still works. It's still functioning. And these are part of those monthly tests that I do. Now, currently, the biggest thing going on is warranties. When you are buying hardware, if you do the co-manage or the pay-as-you-go, max out your warranties. So if the city decides to go that way in the future with my company or another company, always make sure to max it out because that gives you your best bang for your buck. You don't have to worry about those overhead costs because if you buy it from like Dell, Synology, HP, you know they're going to cover the equipment, the hard drives, whatever it is that's inside, or you hopefully the company that's servicing you will cover it through their own warranties. And that's why we offer our additional warranty in our IT managed package. And costs are only going to be going up. So I would say looking at that 5-year cost analysis on HAS and SAS, I'd add about 15-20% with the inflation costs going up and the scarcity of IT goods. It may seem like they're going down, but right now it's still taking 3 to 5 months sometimes to get the hardware, especially enterprise grade. Now, I know you can go to Walmart and buy a lot of this software and hardware, but it's not the same. This is something I have to explain to customers. We use Bitdefender. You can go to their website and buy the home edition. The only difference is there is you're buying a product that's meant for home, maybe small business. We use Advanced, which has EDR technology, and that gives me a traceable route from the source who had it to their target. So it can go all the way down to the servers, what applications they're trying to use. And this could be for website phishing. Stephanie goes to a bad website, she clicks something, and it starts a chain of events. This software will track that chain of events and allow me to either protect it or reverse the damage it's caused. And I can do this all silently without you guys ever knowing about it. And a lot of times the software with Bitdefender will do it automatically for me. And it will either block it, it'll quarantine it, or it'll alert me. And it's pretty much like that. I'll get a text and an email at the same time saying, hey, there's something going on here. You better take a look at this. We couldn't stop it. That hasn't really happened here at the city because the firewall, for the most part, has stopped it all. And the few websites that have happened have been false positives. But it's always good to have that at the back of your mind. We're a very security-first company. We want to protect our customers and their data. People who don't do that usually get ransomware. If you look at the county over there in Kansas City, just got ransomware. And the biggest reason was they didn't have anti-malware and all their networks were connected under one house. So all the county facilities were separated but connected together. So one got infected and just passed it around until the court was ransomware, the sheriff's office was ransomware. And that's why it's very, very important to put segregation in there in your networks. You guys have 3 sites. You have the water plant, the lake, and the city. So having them connected but separated is very, very important, and limiting the traffic between the 3. So, and that's also important as well. There'll be better connectivity with the new firewalls as well. Something I've mentioned to Mike, you guys are supposed to have a Mercury deal with the water plant, and I think the lake, he said about upgrading to the Mercury wireless at those 2 locations, hopefully getting off Centralink one day, because those are very, very slow internets.
If they work.
So, I mean, other than that, the city's in good shape. You guys are using about 2 terabytes in backups, and I have backups for the last year and a half for the city. So your data's in good shape. You're about at 95% on security rating, which is based out of 1 through 100. So you're 95% secure. That 5% is always fuzzy because I usually tell customers they can go about 15% before we need to start worrying, because you're always going to have something that needs to be open. And I don't limit the website access here. I just do the basic stuff like pornography, things like that, illegal websites, things that the federal government and DoD recommend blocking. Those are all blocked by default through the DNS partnership I have. And I do use DoD policies on your servers. So they're military policies that the government gives out for free to help secure and protect it as well. So sometimes that has caused issues, and I've worked with Stephanie to resolve these, especially with the city software. But as I say, it's better to have it more secure and then work it back than to leave it vulnerable. And there's always more than one way to secure something. Do you guys have any questions for me?
When does our current contract expire?
It expires December 31st of this year. And if the city doesn't renew, you guys will go to a pay-as-you-go. The co-managed, the pay-as-you-go, you don't need contracts. The only one that you'll need a contract going forward is the IT managed, because of the hardware as a service. Because we don't want customers, us replacing $100,000 worth of equipment like the first year, and then you guys say, oh, we don't want your service no more. But the co-managed, all we do is SaaS, and that is managing, and that's monthly based. So there's no risk to us, so we don't need the contract. And then if you decide 6 months down the road you want to go with someone who's cheaper, another company, that's your option. We leave that open. The contract would lock you in for 5 or 7 years if you do the IT manage. And the pay-as-you-go can be expensive, especially if there's a lot of issues in a month and it requires on-site service. So I'd come in here, server died, and it took 7 hours. That's $700 ticket. So that's where the co-manage is more friendly to you guys, because it gives you peace of mind, security. I'm not going to have this bill say $500-600 this month and then $1,200 next month. You'll know what it is. You'll be able to balance it out and book it in your books, or even the IT manage. And then you wouldn't have to worry about hardware replacement costs. Because if we go the basic of the hardware replacement costs, We are looking at March of replacing servers this year or next year. I mean, you figure if we do the high availability, which we currently don't have, and I'm pushing a lot of small businesses and cities to go to, that way you're not down if there is an event. You're looking at 8 to 12,000 depending on the price at the time and what discounts the vendors are willing to give out, as well as you have your 3 firewalls going up for replacement. Those are usually about $1,500 on top. So you're looking at $4,500 roughly right there. And then if you're not on the co-managed or IT managed, you're also looking at hours to do all this. When I took over the city, I think it was back in 2016, started working with you guys. You guys had just a regular router they got at Best Buy. So you guys have made leaps and bounds of improvements little by little by little. And I would definitely say you're over halfway there to being what would be considered an enterprise grade for a city, which is a great achievement for a town this size and probably with a tight budget as you have. So we have been making those incremental changes as money and time allowed. So keep up the good work, and if any questions, let me know.
Are we doing co-managed now? Or are we doing just hourly rate or?
Currently, you're on sort of like the co-managed. What we did is we broke down all our services in the past to network management, server management, and you paid the fee for each one. And we've combined it all into one service. So it's easier for us and our customers, especially on figuring out budgets. These can go for co-managed and IT managed. They can go up and down. So if you add another 10 users, it will raise the cost. If you add another 10 devices, it will raise the cost. The city suddenly has 100 terabytes it needs to store. That will raise the monthly. But it also works in the reverse. So if the city goes from 8 employees or 8 users to like 3, that will reduce your monthly cost. And this is the variable rate of that. So it will fluctuate up and down as the city's needs come and go.
It will probably predictably escalate as time goes on too, as opposed to the 5 and 7 year, which is a fixed cost.
Exactly. And I've worked with Stephanie a lot on any issues. She knows she can email me, text me, or call me, and I usually respond within a few hours, if not the day. So even if it's a non-critical issue, and I probably bug her too much. So.
No, most of the time it's like minutes, honestly. Like I call and he answers.
You mean like the
Helps
mayor
me with that.
losing his password every time he comes in here?
And that's fine. I have given her instructions how to do it for
Yes.
you locally. And I will say that's another thing about the HAS is we also include the monitors, the keyboards, mouses, and we can get you what we think is a good fit for security, or you could tell us something's like, I want this model, and we'll get it for. So we're not stuck to one thing. I will say we partner with Dell. Dell's one of the last few distributors in the U.S. that still builds some of their infrastructure in the U.S. So we try to go with their equipment as much as possible, and they have some of the best support services for their equipment. We used to work with HP. We'll still work with them with printers, but we try to stay away from their workstations and their servers because they've moved most of their stuff overseas to China and South Korea. So we've tried to dislocate with them, especially with some of the arguments they've been having with the federal government on security regulations. So I might eventually move away from their HP printers too, but that hasn't happened yet.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. And here's this one if anyone wants one. An extra copy.
All right. Next up on new city business is 84 Lakeview Circle. And I had that put on there. And I'm going to ask Tim what his thought is on that.
I don't have the agenda in front of me. Is that the tree?
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't gone out and looked at it.
Okay. Michelle, your opinion on that? 84 Lakeview Circle.
I haven't been out there.
Justin?
I've been out there.
Annie?
let's see, fall onto his boathouse. So is
I
it
read.
Oh, was that the, okay. Yeah, I
Is
guess I
he
read that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
just asking us to get the tree out of the lake, or is he saying that it damaged the boathouse?
Let me interrupt that thought for just a second. I sent every one of y'all an email last Monday,
Yeah, I read it.
okay? And it explained what the problem is.
Right.
That's why I'm asking what your opinion is on it. 'Cause quite honestly, nobody responded to my email, so I didn't know if you guys got it or not.
I thought that's all that it was. Did I miss? I must have missed part of it, I guess.
Brett, your opinion, your thoughts?
It's obviously in the water. Did he say that?
What the email said basically was a tree that is on the city's easement fell on his boathouse and then toppled into the water. And he
Yes.
wants us to remove it. He wants to know what we're gonna do about it.
Is it hindering his use of the boat house or being able to get any boats in and out or?
I didn't get that
He
impression,
didn't
did you?
say. He didn't say anything about that.
That's what I was asking. If I was getting the impression that it did damage to the boathouse and
It
he wanted
did,
something.
But he didn't say. He just was.
Wanted the tree removed?
He wants the tree removed. He just wanted to make it a point.
I
that
see.
It damaged
Well,
his thing.
that's what I'm meaning because
I
it
understand.
kind of looked like there was damage. So like,
It doesn't sound like he's asking for, it, at least in this.
He
email,
didn't-
so.
Well, if he has
Come
a
right
claim
out and
against,
say.
if he has a claim against the city, he has to do it according to the statute. So what the question is whether, what are you gonna do about the tree that's now
That's right.
lying in
That,
the lake?
that is the question.
I think it's reasonable, I guess, for us
To
to remove
remove
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did Becky
I
go
mean, it's
look
already
at it?
down. I mean, it's got, so
Or
Robin,
Did Robin go look at it?
I don't know if we
No.
can winch it out or.
Yeah, they've got a fish habitat.
Kind of tree, how
she
big?
doesn't know
I mean,
anything about it.
They have pictures of this.
No.
No
He
pictures.
just called and that was
Okay.
it.
Not that the size of the tree matters whether or not we're gonna pull it out, but I'd sure like to know what we're up against.
Well, I mean, why didn't we have Robin go look and take some pictures for us?
I just didn't talk to her about it.
Oh.
I hadn't seen her this week. It was a short week, which she might have come in one day, but
I'd be hesitant to say, sure, we're gonna go get it, and then we find out it's a 3.5 foot wide oak tree.
Yeah, I mean, we need details.
Probably wouldn't have no, whatever it was that got. Yeah,
You wouldn't have a
if
boat
that
house
was the
anymore.
case. Yeah, exactly.
It's a substantial tree.
Yeah.
Is it snapped off? Did you see it?
Mhm.
Is it snapped off?
Well, then it's gonna float and damage something someday. If they have flooding out there or if you have ice.
So is it half in the water, all in the water, partially in the water, partially on land?
Yep.
What's
All of that.
all of that?
I thought it. I know.
Accessible shoreline?
Mm-hmm.
It's accessible from the shoreline, he said.
I think you could pull it up, but I mean, the next question is who's going to pull that up? Because we have another one. I mean, this is the same situation that Boozers have right now with their tree that's fallen beside their dock.
I don't have reason to believe that this person cut trees around the tree that fell.
I hear what you're getting at, but that tree is nowhere near the stumps that we saw, Tim, that they had cut down.
So in your opinion,
So before I don't have an opinion. I guess until Todd, we went over this about the city's liability as far as a tree that falls on there, and are we obligated to do anything or whatever? And you had came back to told us that no, we are not.
Well, yeah, and I think the issue is twofold. One, is there damage? I mean, what's the insurance? What's the harm to the city generally? We're talking, I think then we're talking about the rope swing, right?
No.
No, we weren't? Okay.
We were talking about specifically when we spent $3,000 to cut a tree down, and now we're waiting 30 years for a profit off that property, or $1,500 to cut the other one down next
Yeah.
door, and now we're waiting 15
and
to get
I
out
think-
of that
Yeah, well,
because we can't afford that.
yeah, the different concepts here are, number one, is there a liability issue for the city to have a tree fall on somebody from its property? And the only reason that would happen is if the tree is visibly rotting or is dead and it shows that it's gonna probably be in a dangerous condition. If you have that knowledge and you don't do anything about it, the city can't be held liable. If it's just a regular tree that, for whatever reason, the wind snapped it off or a tornado hit or whatever, that's not a liability issue. Now the question, the separate one is just maintaining city property, generally as a matter of course. And you're like any other landowner. I mean, it's essentially your duty is only to the fact that you have to keep it in some recognizable non-nuisance condition. So can somebody fault you for not cleaning it up? Probably not. Is it poorly reflective on you? Probably a bit, depending upon the circumstances with trees out there and interrupting access to the lake.
So I guess my answer would be I can go back out there tomorrow and take pictures and bring them to Stephanie, and she can email them to everybody so that we can see, so that everybody else can see the problem.
Yeah.
FYI, I don't have a problem with us taking care of that tree or the other tree that has been talked about either, but it's just, what is the cost of hiring somebody to hook onto them and pull them up out of the lake?
Do you know if we have any type of police system
Winch
attached
truck?
on a truck? What'd you call it?
Winch?
Or
Winch. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. Do we have anything like that?
I don't know that we have that.
I don't think they have a winch, but I don't know.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of some of the
I
places
mean,
I've seen
one of
out
those
there.
winches that you put on the
I
front
would
of
be
the truck.
a little
would-
surprised if our guys can't use the uniloader and a chain or something, pull it out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the problem to that too, especially with Maccabees, is they're pretty immaculate with their old yard and lawn and such. So if we get a uniloader in there, I don't think they really want. It's really a rocky ledge. It's a deep ledge. It's a deep cove.
But you
I
said
don't
you
know.
thought we could get it off the
Even a
shore.
winch, you're
and we wouldn't.
dragging the tree across that same
Right.
landscape though. So.
And some of it's landscape, some of it's not. I mean, it's a beautiful area. So like you're gonna have to be mindful of disrupting of other stuff as well.
Is it floatable? Can you,
Well, I suppose wood is floatable
yeah?
If we had a boat.
If we had a
if
boat.
we had a boat.
Well,
But-
supposedly our boat's up and running, right?
Well, I mean,
So you think that boat that we have is powerful enough to pull
Oh,
that tree
no.
across the lake?
you'd need probably a pontoon or something.
Just asking.
Do you think Mike could just take a look at it and let us know? Because I'm not gonna guess what they can and can't do, honestly.
Yeah, that'd probably be best. He's
That's
gonna
what I
know
would-
what they're capable of doing, what equipment they have.
You
all
can
that.
tell us no, we need to hire somebody or not.
Maybe a conversation needs to be had with the Maccabees about what our possibilities are, because I hear what Brett said, but if we don't have any other way to get it out, then we don't have any other way to get it out.
Yeah, it sounds like they want us to get it out. So I mean, it sounds like they would be willing to deal with some inconvenience on it. I can't speak for them, obviously, but
No, I bet they probably would deal with some inconvenience to get out of it, but I just want to throw that out there that we'd have to be mindful of the area as you're using.
Yeah, as long as we're careful when we do it.
yeah.
What time do you want to go out there and see that?
So we don't have a
Tomorrow?
tugboat
Yeah.
area, huh?
I mean,
Won't be walking any shorelines.
whatever.
I'd go
Oh,
with
come
you.
on,
I'd go with you
Tim.
if we do it before, if I can be back here by 2:00, because I've got to be in Topeka shortly after that. But I'd go with you to see it. Otherwise, we wait till Wednesday and we go out Wednesday.
Okay. I'll have to let you know tonight because I don't know. I have to work tomorrow if an employee will be there or not. So
Okay. All right.
I should have it off, but we'll see if they're still sick.
Okay. All right. So we'll get it. We'll get that checked out and we'll get information to the council before the next meeting. Okay. And we'll try to talk with Mr. McAbee himself before then.
They may or may not be out. It just depends.
We've got
I
his
would
email
assume
address,
that they
don't we?
wouldn't be out.
I
Because he
think,
sent
I
you an
think I
email.
have.
He said-
No,
No,
he
he
didn't
didn't.
send me an
Okay.
email. He called,
Okay.
but I have this.
All right. We'll get in touch with him, see if we can set up a time.
But this lip thing has also been well over a month ago, correct? Because this
He
was
just called last week. The
right,
day
but
he
they had
called-
mentioned before we had something.
From Maccabees?
Yeah.
I don't
I
remember.
don't
I'll
either.
have to go
Off
back and
my head.
look.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
sorry
it was-
for the
it was
lack of
before our-
information. I didn't know this was going to be on the
Before our
agenda,
lake
so-
meetings.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about
That
that.
we had at the senior center. I mean, this was before those.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Okay. We'll get in touch with him and we'll see if we can't meet him out there, you and I, okay? All right, let's move on. 2023 permit office contract.
You guys just said you wanted this on the agenda, so this is included this year's permit office contract. I think I emailed it to you guys too the day after the meeting.
I think they handed out the revised one, didn't they?
Gotcha. Julie.
Julie
yeah.
did.
So the packet is the one that was this year, and then Julie handed out a proposed contract.
This is this year's contract, but
can
No.
you
Dates
briefly
have
tell us the
This is
changes from last year's
this is
to this
Julie's
year's
proposal.
contract?
Okay.
The changes was the amount of money.
Here, Julie.
So it went from $3,100 and some dollars per month to $3,500.
Yes.
That's the proposed.
Yeah.
I was gonna change the hours in April because April was a kind of like a wash.
Probably.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, all I was doing was city business at that point. So to be open all those hours for
But you're gonna be open a week earlier.
right, I'm gonna be open April 1st. But I was gonna just be open from 7 to 5. And that way people could come out and get their boat permits and their fishing permits and whatnot.
How does the sun come up and go down in April?
Let's look.
Another, probably a better question is what kind of attendance did you have out there in April?
None. I mean, we did not have fishing people coming out to fish
Uh-huh.
between 6 and 8 in the morning. It was too cold.
Right, and you had it. Did you keep an hourly tab at any point out there as the customers that were coming in during the day?
No, I mean, we kind of got estimates, but not an actual factual.
Okay, that was
So
one.
how many customers a day do you think
But that
you
wasn't
got?
asked for until after.
Okay,
later in the
after that
season.
time. Okay.
10 customers a day?
Right.
Say that again.
How many customers do we have a day in April?
For city business or for on the lake?
Either one. Anything that
Probably maybe 5 or 6, if we were lucky.
It was a difficult April because the crappie spawn didn't really kick in like it normally does.
That was, and I mean, if we're gonna be open from 7 to 5, and if it's a beautiful day, I'll stay later. I did it when we changed the hours the last time. I have no problem with staying later if I need to.
Sunrise is 7:09 a.m., so she wouldn't be there later. She'll
Right.
still be there right on time.
So 7,
What
so,
day?
April 1st.
Okay.
so 7 o'clock would be
About 20.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
I have one question on this as well.
6/20.
Term of contract, April 1st, 2023 to October 31st, 2023.
The
And
last day of April.
Oh, yeah, 628.
that is a period of 7 months. But the pay begins on April 1st and ends November 1st for a total of 8 payments. So what am I missing here?
I don't know.
It's because in March that's when the bait shop opens. But you guys have always done it there to be there like March 15th. Is how you did it in the past. I think that's why this was written that way originally. And last year, I don't know if
Last year we didn't hire Julie until
April
the
15th.
until April whatever, like 2 days before she was supposed to be officially open.
Right.
Yeah.
but
So
it used to be they were there in March.
I think the contract started in March, and it was basically they were to clean up for a couple weeks. I mean, they weren't even required to be open, but yet it was in there
Just go out
because
there and,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I was thinking.
actually it's to clean up, paint, whatever you gotta do, and stock it for opening day.
I didn't mind that last payment in November because then, at the end of the year, then I get a little.
We just need to add up the number of payments and the amount of each payment and make sure it totals the correct total.
Well, that's what we did. Because we figured 8 months at $3,562.50. If you wanted to cut it down a month, then that would be more every month. But I don't think that's. It isn't. It is.
Well, 8 payments does add up to 28,500.
Yes.
Good enough.
Well, I'm just saying that I think you guys ran into a concern with that prior to Julie taking over, where there was an extra check that went out that shouldn't have because you didn't get the money lined up exactly right. But
It
Far-
still
far as I'm
was the
concerned-
8 payments. It just there was a 9th payment in there,
No.
right?
I think it was
no,
7
wrong.
and 8, but we intended for there to be 7, and there was an 8th payment. But yeah,
But what's done is done. You can't undertake it.
yeah, now we're
so
doing
if you're
8 payments.
getting paid on April 1st, is that for the month of April, or is that for the previous 2 weeks in April, or what's that for?
Month of April.
So what are you getting paid for in the month of November?
Well,
It's just a
Just
contract with a structured payment. I mean, it's not necessarily tied to anything, but
Yeah, it's
If
not
she
hourly.
goes out in March and we do any of the
That
cleanup
was
and
to
so
give
on
her-
beforehand, before April 1st,
Off the base.
she's not getting any pay for March. So it would put it on the backside and pay her on April the 1st.
Okay, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think our contract should be March 15th, not April 1st.
That's
Yeah.
up
It
to you
doesn't
guys.
say anything about March or
I,
ripping the bait.
you're exactly right. It doesn't say anything about March. It just says,
Neither
and
does
I'm
this
just asking the question, if the first payment's on April 1st, what are we paying for?
one. I agree. I'm
Are
agreeing
we
with
paying
you.
for April or are we paying for March?
You're not paying for a month. You're paying 28, whatever.
We were given money up front so that she could stock the base.
right.
Okay.
That was the reasoning behind
Alright.
it.
Well, I think the thing is she wants a certain amount to run it, and we just broke it down into 8 payments.
If you want to make it into
That-
7 payments, I'm way okay with that.
Yeah.
But then that's going to be
4,000.
The total.
You're paying the same amount of money. What
It
you're
is the
saying, when
same
you make
amount of
7
money.
payments or 8,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
28,
Yes, 28.5.
divided by 7. So 4,072 and 42 cents.
That's fine with me.
For 7 months.
Just trying to
I mean,
eliminate
that
some
would be-
confusion. Just trying to eliminate some confusion.
That would be better for me anyway.
7 months.
October. Stop there.
No, that's fine.
No.
My other thing was. Let's see. Nope, that doesn't count. It said the city thing on reimbursement, but that doesn't matter because now we're using extra. Oh, that was, I believe all of my changes.
Well, other than changing the date so that you're starting March 15.
Yeah. Well, we had some.
Why would I
language
have
in
to
there.
start March 15th?
Well, I mean, don't we do that too?
What do I need to go out there and get ready for? I mean, I'll be ready October or April 1st.
Yeah, that's all it was like.
But I'll be
yeah,
ready
you know,
by
so that-
then. I'll go to
Yeah.
town and get my,
So that's why it was in there. It was
Yeah,
just
I'll
kind of
be-
like a work
I'll be ready to
period or
go.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't need.
It's like the teachers go in early before school starts. you know,
Right,
that kind of deal.
right.
Yeah.
And I'll be so much smarter this year. Well, in theory.
Ideally, you should be able to use Astra to run your reports to bring to the meeting
They
instead of having a
stink.
Do you
handwrite.
know how hard it is to even find anything decent on the reports? I don't know if Stephanie's had this issue,
Yeah, I
but
actually
it is a
did
massive
do that
mess.
in training.
No.
It
When Mary Jane tried to actually do a report on there, and it was not a pretty sight. The reports that she gave you guys each week that she wrote out was probably the best that you're gonna get.
All right, I'll let you correct that, I guess.
I mean, there wasn't a penny that you guys didn't get.
No, I'm not
And-
saying that.
Right,
I
and
just-
she
You shouldn't have to write it out with rulers.
Well, she ain't got nothing
and-
else to do.
It should generate a report that's easily readable.
Oh yeah,
I actually printed out some because I wanted to show. They don't show you. This one is the transaction fees that you guys collected this year. All it does is tell me, but it doesn't say on here as to what is actual factual or not. You have to go through and try to figure it out. This is not accurate. It says that you guys have paid this amount in it, but somehow or another you have paid more than what this is showing. And it's because of the way it's figuring it up when you go to find the reports. It's splitting them all kinds of different directions, kind of like your cancellation and no-show fees. It says that you guys made $698 on that, but I know you didn't. I think you only made $400 and some according to my calculations. So it is adding stuff and not taking away stuff as it is supposed to be.
Gosh, that still sounds high.
But
I mean,
right, you did not make
that's
that.
basically first day's rent, isn't it, or first day's camping fee?
Well, this report isn't even our
Actually, that is
money.
incorrect. What it does on the no-show is it takes that night's cancellation fee, which is the amount, but it also charges you the $3.50 transaction fee, and it's keeping an additional $10.
Okay.
So you guys are making, I mean, it is all kinds of a mess to try to track it down. When you go into the list as far as reports go, it's got 20 different reports for multitude of different things that you can't get to what you want all of one report to be. So I could go on and say, well, I made this much in sales. It might try to break down a little, but it's not going to be accurate.
These fees aren't even ours. These go to Astra.
Correct.
So this
Correct.
report is not
Well,
anything.
but what I'm trying to show is that it's inaccurate as to technically, this is what they're saying you owe them. Since we turned Astra on and started using it.
Yeah, so those reports that Mary Jane was handing you guys every month was a more accurate report than what you're gonna get from them.
The money we owed, that was just all the $3.50
Yeah.
fees accumulated over time. Is that,
That's all.
or is that?
We
more
shouldn't
than
owe
that?
them anything. It should be an automatic transfer then.
It would automatically come out of,
It's yeah.
right.
Right.
Okay.
However
Like
you
daily
guys.
or weekly or whatever it was.
Right. However you guys have that set up, that's how that's done.
Yeah.
It's just over the time period. It says that, and I know we had more cancellations and more no-shows than this. It's not showing everything.
Okay.
That's our problem. So I don't know how Stephanie can pull it up. Are you able to pull it up easier to see?
No, I've messed with it a couple times. Like I tried getting reports based off because like it's weird how they send us like a deposit for the day for the camping in the bank. Is very weird trying to match that up with what Astra says. It's like doesn't
Yeah,
make
it's a
sense. So I don't know. It's a little bit confusing, I will say. So we just need to, I don't know, get a hold of someone there and try to figure it out.
Okay.
Anyhow, I mean, I don't care if you guys decide on today, but I at least like decided on before January.
First.
That way
Before the end of the year.
I can get my beer license because I was kind of in the lurch.
We did not get that until the end.
Well, that's,
All right,
that's,
right before Memorial Day.
that's our fault because
That's
the
okay, you
contract
guys-
wasn't established early enough for y'all to take care of it.
Well, and then I had to go through it. I didn't realize I had to go through the
Okay.
township and
There's a couple of things I don't see on here that I think we talked about, so let me run it by you.
okay.
Create a database of boat owners. Was that something we had talked about doing or having done?
You guys had mentioned it, but it had not been set in stone.
Okay,
Because you guys, it's a lot more work if you're going two separate systems. Because what you're talking about doing is we have to enter into Astra, the people, the boat, permits, blah, blah, blah. Then we would have to actually go onto a whole nother system to enter them in again, minus the pay, but enter in all their information, all of their stuff.
and all that's done through Astra, you're saying, right?
But the problem is with Astra, I can't keep the tag numbers and I can't keep the KA numbers and all that. It won't allow us to do that. All it'll allow us to do is take their name and address. That's it. And then we can run them up through the point of sale, which will give us the how much they owe for whatever city business they purchase. What you're wanting to also do is the database would have to be done on a whole total different operating system.
Such as an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, so we would.
Yep.
It will
Maybe.
make the
Well,
time
that's what I mean.
longer for each person.
Could Astra be, I don't know, modified or whatever? Is there like a comments
I
field
have
or
tried.
anything where we could?
We have tried it.
Okay.
And when we did try it, Astra tried to help me to figure out how to possibly do it. The problem is that when you bring it back up, it's not there.
Okay.
It does not show. We can't even pull up people's phone numbers when
Yeah.
we enter them in under their information. We cannot bring up the phone numbers.
That's really weird.
It's a
Okay, well, it's just something for us to
Data
think about and see if
disappears.
there's a way that we can create that without too much excessive
Well,
work.
we started keeping a book out there too, or we started keeping when they would fill out their thing, we would give them a copy of their boat permit, and then we would keep a copy,
Mhm.
and we would write their permit number on the top, and we would write their phone number on a piece of paper, and then we started putting them in a book.
yes.
Just because, I mean, you're the old-fashioned way.
I still have all of those note cards that Leslie used when she did whatever she did a couple years ago. I know they're a couple years old, but it's definitely a heck of a starting point. It has all that information on there. You would just need to update it with the KA numbers.
And really, the only difference between putting it on the Excel spreadsheet is it's put on the computer instead of on a scrap notebook.
It's not even a notebook. I mean, I brought them in. It's the
It's a
actual.
3-ring notebook with all
Right.
the printed out. It's not just a piece of paper.
What do you alphabetize it, or how do you keep it in order?
It's
Number
done by
and-
number, the boat permit numbers. So it begins
Boat
at the
permit.
bottom with whatever the
So if I want to look up Richard's thing, I'd have to know what his boat permit number is to find him, right? Or the Excel spreadsheet, you can look them up by last name, or you can look them up by address, or you can look them
So
up
then
by
we would
boat
have two
permit.
computers out there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, I understand what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
but you have not actually been in there when we have 4 or 5 people in the morning that want on the lake at the same time.
I
and they
understand
get
that.
upset
I
because
understand.
we're going to different systems.
I understand that, but you're not busy 100% of the time dealing with customers, are you?
No, but you'd have to enter in at the same time for both because you don't always have all the information to go into the Excel unless you have that paperwork that they're going to bring with them.
Hey, time out. What if we have an application where the people have to write down their name, their KA, their boat, their horsepower? They put everything down right there when they're getting their sticker. You give them their sticker and they even write down the number of their sticker and then you watch them put their sticker on.
The sticker is another issue that we talked about.
That sounds like a great idea.
But we'll I think we need to look into that. I don't see what the big deal is in writing the person's name down if you're writing it in a notebook, you've got the information in your notebook, right? Am I right?
Not the names. I mean, I've got the names.
You got
I
the
don't
name.
They're not alphabetic though.
Just a minute. You on a notebook, a 3-ring notebook, you've got their name and their permit number.
Yes.
And you wrote that down yourself.
No, it's
Astra does it.
Alpha the Astra.
And Astra puts it in a 3-ring notebook for you?
Nope, we do.
We print it.
Okay.
Every single person
It's
that
like a
comes in and gets a
receipt.
We
vote.
put the permit number at the top, and then I write a phone number down here at the bottom, and then their little piece of paper goes into a 3-ring notebook,
They
which
just
is what we
copy-
weren't doing to begin with. It's actually a better thing than what we were doing.
I guess what I don't understand about the Astra system then is if they have that in Astra, why can't you alphabetize that?
They don't
Why
have
can't-
it.
That's what I'm saying. It's an expensive system that we're paying for, and we don't have, and they have the ability to put that in a 3-ring binder, but you can't access it unless you know what the permit number is. So if Julie Bisnet comes out
Wait a
there
minute,
and I need to check
that's
on something,
inaccurate.
what?
That is, okay, how you're trying to describe that is inaccurate. When we print off, we go by the numbers, permit number, not Astra. Astra goes by alphabetical. So if Tom, Dick, or Harry walked in off the street and said, hey, my name is this, whatever their name, Mark,
Okay, whatever.
then you enter in their last name.
Okay.
So
But it doesn't
then
have
you
their
go
permit
to
number on
find,
it.
well, first you hit find, then you enter in their last name. Then you hit search. It will bring up every single person that has had that last name, no matter where, what, so on. So then you have to search for that person, the correct person. So once you find them, then you can bring them up. But it does not in that at all, anywhere, give you a phone number, which we have tried and entered. It will not allow us to put in their tag numbers or their registration numbers. Astra was built specifically for camping and selling of your own merchandise out of your store. So technically, all you're collecting is just phone numbers. I mean, not phone numbers, but names for your camping. That's it. And then you add on to that with the point of sale for for your merchandise. We are running it in a totally different capacity than what Astra was built for. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Because
you're making sense to the point where I feel like we got sold down the river on
You
that.
did, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You really did.
Because it's
On the
not doing everything
campings-
that we need it to do.
On the camping side, it's beautiful. Love it. It works wonderful. Having,
You what, Tim?
I don't love it on the camping site because of the problem that we have on the July 4th weekend.
Well, it's
That was-
Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend too. You can't control
Well, we'll
5
see what
buddies or
happens
10
this
buddies getting on
4th
at
of
6
July.
a.m. to lock up a holiday at 6:01.
That's my point.
That's everywhere.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on to
What
the
do you
next topic
want me
because
to
we
do about
haven't
it?
settled anything 100%
No.
yet. And that's probably something that can come out later, not necessarily has to be done right now.
I think I have a solution. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, all right. The other thing, and Tim, you mentioned it in your statement a minute ago, but the other thing we talked about was, do we apply the boat permits ourselves, or do we allow the customer to take the boat permit and trust them to put it in the right spot at some point down the road?
I believe that we should let the customer apply it in front of us whenever possible, and that should be possible 90% of the time.
Well, when you say possible, are you talking about as soon as
90% of everybody that has a boat on a boat dock around the lake comes over with their boat for the boat sticker to be put on?
No.
Okay, because you just were saying yes, that would work, but if that doesn't happen, then how are you gonna do that?
Most of the people that are out there at the lake, though, and I'm going to say at least 80% of the people who get their stickers out there at the lake are honest and put one on one side and one on the other. They do what they're supposed to do. As far as a boat permit goes.
Now, on the other side of that coin, we only had one known incident where somebody put a sticker on one boat that eventually wasn't working, and they went out with a different boat but used the other sticker on the other boat, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And then when the other boat got fixed, used it as well.
Yeah.
Without a sticker.
One, yes.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm following that. Yeah.
He did not comply to what he needed to be complying to and knew it from the get-go.
I know this isn't a contract topic, but what we also need to figure out is a way to determine if the person is in fact a resident or not.
We can eliminate that by making one fee.
Don't we have more non-residents than we do residents?
Well, no, because everybody 34% of them, or 3/4 of them that come out there say that they're residents of the lake. Or their dads, they had an address.
So then you just answered my question, yes. We do have more non-residents than we do residents.
Yeah, but that's not how they're registered.
But if we can prove it, then it will be.
Right, so if we just make it all one fee for everybody.
What if we just limited lake owners or lake residents to 2 boat registrations apiece, and that's it. Anything excess of that pays the non-resident fee.
Well,
That's not going to go over very well for those that have the
kayaks,
jet skis, and
Yeah.
some of that in their kayaks. And there's one house out there that has 8 kayaks on it.
Okay. Well,
And then there's one house that had, I think, 4 jet skis that they permitted. So I don't know how you would be able to do that.
If you're that concerned, have them bring a piece of mail in with proof of address on it.
I like that idea. I also like the
It's the
idea
only way you can do
that
it.
somebody had at that meeting where he said, bring your LWID bill with your name on it.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like that idea a lot.
Of course, that just limits your head of household.
Now,
You guys
with
can,
that, would
you
you
guys
be able-
can
the mail piece
limit
won't
me
work
to
though,
how I
Annie,
do it or how I do it. It's fine.
Why not?
because I can put my name on a mail
But,
piece
yeah.
and mail it to your house.
If it's an LWID bill, you know that.
No,
they're
that's not what she said.
Okay.
Or they could bring in a piece of mail with their
A
name
bill.
and address.
A bill can't be.
Well,
Well, you didn't say a bill. You said a piece of mail.
Well,
So, and
then,
then
be more
LWID.
specific. I don't know what you
Well,
want.
if
from
it
me.
had
It could be some mail.
Would it be easier
Yeah,
to
we have
also?
to be
I
specific.
get it. That's what my suggestion was. So make that
Okay, I
change.
like, along with the LWID bill, the registration from the Kansas boat registration. Shouldn't that have to match that name that's on that bill?
No, because people, well, the name, yeah, but the address
any-
won't.
Well, if they change their address, they're supposed to notify Wildlife and Parks. Am I not correct, Jesse?
But these people have multiple
Yeah, but
addresses.
Right.
You're gonna have all 2 over the place.
But I mean, as far as
Yeah.
the name.
Name,
Didn't
yeah.
I suggest
The
that
name
you
needs
just
to
have the
match the
registration
name that's
number
on
for
the
the
bill.
boat? And
On
then
the-
you're gonna
the-
be able to tell if
I
it's
mean,
that person or
because
not.
otherwise-
What if your son owns a
I don't
boat
mean to
and
be
lives at your
fishy.
house?
Hey, one at a time, please.
But that's
One
what
at a
we've
time.
got. What
Turn
about
it
there's a
time.
bunch of them that are coming and using the same address? So how do you
For God's sakes.
squash down the amount of?
I mean,
I
what
was
do
trying to
you?
get back on topic, Michelle, so.
I actually like your idea, Mary Jane, about just going to a 1 fee. So instead of giving a discounted fee for residents, just make it the one fee that it is and everybody pays that one fee. Because the people that pay the most fee are restricted from, they pay the most money and they're the ones that are restricted from the lake as far as hours wise and time frame to be on. The residents that are out there are the ones that get to have the most access to the lake whenever they want. And so, I mean, you just make it one fee and it's one fee. And it's more money in the tills for us to do projects that we have.
I understand your point, but I don't agree with the more money part. If we can prove that 1/4 of the residents, 1/4 of boat fees are residents and 3/4 are non-residents.
What you're not gonna approve, that's not gonna be proven. I don't think that 3/4 of the people out there would be non-residents.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
All right, let's agree to discuss the fine tuning of that sort of thing at a later time. Let's go back.
A late work session.
Let's go back to the
That didn't work
contract.
out the last time. Otherwise, we'd have all these answers.
Let's go back to the contract
Try it again.
as it's written in front of us. Let's go back to contract as it's written in front of us. The only other thing I'd like to see on here is that we have an inventory of items that belong to the city. And it needs to be verified either by the mayor or any council member prior to when you start. And then the inventory must be verified at the end of the season. And if something gets broken, this is another thing that needs to be added. If something is not working, needs to be broken, needs to come to the council. We get it approved for replacement. We adjust the inventory list accordingly. Likewise, we're responsible in the city for paying for supplies such as restroom supplies, things of that nature. Am I
Paper
correct?
towels, toilet paper.
Yes. All right. And I think that the
Hand
order,
sanitizer.
I think that the order for that stuff needs to come through the city. And then we make the purchases. Okay. You just let us know what you need. I don't care if it's on a monthly basis or every 2 weeks, whatever, but don't wait till Monday morning and call Stephanie and say, oh, we ran out last night when you should have known a week ahead of time. You're getting close or 2 weeks ahead of
Except
time.
she could have had all the rolls stolen out of the bathrooms that she had
Yeah.
over the night period, and now
Okay.
she's out of toilet paper and she has to
Well,
wait.
we've
on
got all
Stephanie.
we've got all kinds of storage room here in City Hall. So why don't we just store it here? And then as she needs it, she can pick it up on her way out to the lake.
Sounds good.
We have storage room here.
I'm being sarcastic
I'm like-
because we don't have a big enough place for that as it is.
It's like, where's the
Well, I didn't
storage?
speak
Yeah,
up.
really.
Where's the vault?
Put it underneath these tables.
Okay,
There you go.
will do.
All right, so I'd like to see the inventory and the supply issue added to this contract, okay?
I can always give you back your key, Julie. I can always give you back your key and then
So does everybody agree that the inventory list should be added?
Yeah.
Yes.
What about the supplies?
What about the gathering of information on the boats and owners?
That's what we said we would talk about later. Right now, we're just worrying about the contract itself.
Well, that's what I mean. I thought that we should have that as,
That could go under the park rules, I think, because a lot of changes need to be made on that.
They are gathering it on the owners. It's just
Yeah, we are.
you're specifying the method.
We have been gathering it. Mary Jane has a notebook that has every
Yeah.
person in there. Fishing permit, camping permit, and boat permit.
KA numbers?
Pardon?
Does she also gather the KA numbers?
No.
Okay.
Tim, we'll look at what Tim had, yes, what Leslie did a couple years ago. We'll look at that and see if it can be implemented or not.
We also need to add into that on the park rules thing. You guys need to update to add horsepower and CC.
Yes, we'll talk about that particular thing at a later time, but the contract right now is what we want to hash out. Okay, but we will get that because that's on my list, updating that handout. The other thing is in that handout, we need to put on there that the park closes on October 31st into business. and that the lake is not open from November 1st until April 1st. So if you got a boat on the water, you got to get it off. They've got a notice that says, I've got to be off this lake by October 31st.
They should already know that.
They don't know that. We had a guy the other day, just less than a week ago, called me, supposedly got my name off the internet. I don't know where, but he got my name off the internet, and he called me and he wanted to go fishing. He wanted to go fishing. Okay.
So he didn't do his due diligence to know when you're supposed to have the boat off the lake.
He brought the boat up from El Dorado. He said, or El Dorado, however you want to pronounce it.
And he didn't check.
He said that when he bought his boat permit, he was not told that the lake was closed after October 31st. So he assumed that the license that he paid for that boat fee was good until December 31st. And I think that's a very good assumption for someone to make when they buy a yearly fishing license. I mean, a boat permit.
Agreed.
So we don't have any, and I've asked both of the bait house operators if they handed out anything or told anybody that the lake closes October 31st, and they said no.
No, we did. It actually is in that,
Rules and
the
regulations.
rules and regulations.
But Julie
we
says
handed
that,
those out.
Julie told me you guys were not handing that pamphlet
She
out.
is incorrect.
Oh, no, I handed that.
We handed that paper
Okay.
out a lot.
All right.
We came
Okay.
in, I don't know how many times to get
More
more
copies?
copies made
Okay,
because we kept running out.
okay.
That was one of my things I asked them to do at the very beginning of the season. I said, I'm not telling you, but I would love for you to hand one of these
And
out
we
to
handed them
every
out.
single person so that they have rules. And if you need copies made, come to City Hall to make copies. That was my one suggestion to them, and they did it.
Okay.
So, side note, isn't this our contract?
The one that we got passed out tonight?
This is Julie's.
This is the
Julie.
one-
No, I get that, but it's our contract.
Yes,
She's altering our contract.
right. And we're
You're
deciding.
the scriveners.
So
Yes.
shouldn't we make the changes to the contract and then we'll review it, next meeting?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, that's
And-
why I'm
and so-
clarifying because I'm confused.
Yeah, and I understand, and I appreciate the comment. So
This is
the
Julie's
two
one,
changes would be
so-
adding the inventory list and adding a supply request to the city.
Was the
And that supply request includes if they have something break, big items, right? Or those three different things or two
Well,
different
in the
things?
inventory list, it would also include if there's a malfunction of equipment that is ours, that they need to come to city council.
Okay.
Okay,
Cause that beer refrigerator needs replaced. Well,
and then we will inventory it prior to April 1st or on April 1st, and we'll do it again at the end of the season.
alright. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were on a, bonus for this year. If nobody brought it up, I will.
Let's get this contract settled first, okay?
I thought you postponed that till next month.
Well, we haven't, nobody,
then
we
I'll
just
be
said we
here
were gonna do it.
another
Do we need anything official? That we're gonna table this until,
No, it just comes up back up in the agenda. You didn't approve it, so.
okay, all right.
That's it.
Okay, we're done with the contract then, other than the changes we need to make on it.
No, now you can talk about it. You're done talking about the contract. So
Go
we're
ahead.
bonus.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I was just wondering about getting a bonus from out there at the Bay House, cause you guys got every single penny that was allotted to the city this year, and, every note that was,
Because of the 20.
every cent that was sold and what it went for, and we did everything that this city asked, so I was just wondering about a bonus.
I will entertain ideas from the city council on that issue. Who wants to start?
No, I don't know what the price of that. I mean, I would entertain the idea for a bonus in general, I guess. So that's, I think she did a good job. I think we had our best year ever collecting out there, and it was by a few $1,000s. So I mean, I don't have a problem in sharing some of that success, I guess.
You didn't have that in the contract?
Yeah, I think it just
I
said
did
that.
not have that in my contract.
Bonus bonus written in the
That
contract.
no
contract,
nothing
like,
that automatically
2 days
triggered.
before she opened, we were in a pinch.
Yeah, because I know the previous version of the contract had like a threshold that if this many sales were met, then
20% over that
it was
threshold.
triggered. Yeah. And they got 15% of the sales over a certain amount.
And the one prior to that, the prior year was $2,500, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I don't think we should base it on this year. I don't think we should base a bonus this year on sales percentage like was in the past. But I do like the idea of a bonus because they did do one hell of a job out there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Julie and it wasn't just Mary Jane. It was a combination of those people out there working together to get this thing accomplished. And they've exceeded our expectations by far. So if compensation is warranted, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm not a voting member. But you guys need to decide if you think that's appropriate. If you do, then collectively come up with a bonus amount, make a proposal, and then let's vote on it.
Well, I'll go on $2,500 just because I was gonna share with Mary Jane.
I'm thinking more like $50 or $100.
I can believe that.
It's tough negotiating with Terry. I don't know. I got 2,000 pop into my mind right before that. So I mean, 2,500 isn't far from that. So that's
Tim, you got opinions over there?
You don't want
Yeah, you don't want a bonus.
What's your thought, Annie?
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Michelle?
That's fine.
Brett?
It's a motion. It needs to be a motion.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just getting
We're
opinions
discussing.
now.
I'm in agreement with Russ.
We're not done yet.
With Rush, did you say?
With Rush and the rest.
Rush.
All right,
We're
so
there for a while.
like Todd says, we need a motion.
Make a motion, Mr. Rush.
well, I moved to grant the bonus of $2,500 to Julie Bisnet
Well, to call the bait shop contractors.
to the bait shop contractor.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to pay a $2,500 bonus to the bait house contractor by Justin, seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed?
me.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Stephanie, in the minutes, can you make sure you put in there the good reasons why we decided that Justin
Yes.
stated, so that people can read it?
Reason.
It's not just,
Rush.
it's a $2,500
It's a
bonus.
rush.
It's because we've got the record, we've won it for years, and like,
Yes.
do it
Good
right.
reason.
Thank you.
Big cat.
I haven't heard that
Can I get a bonus?
Okay, all right, let's move on. Next up on the list is buoys. Who's here to talk about the buoys?
I don't think anything. This was a continuation from last meeting. I think
Still my buoys?
someone wanted it on the agenda. I don't remember.
I
Right,
have
maybe.
5 in the storage room.
I wasn't sure if this buoys thing was me or not, but I was just concerned about the liability. I already stated
Yeah,
that in the prior
did.
meeting.
But I
But-
swore that I would have put it on there because I think we said at the
Did we
last
not
meeting that we
get a
wanted to talk
solution to
about.
this?
I thought we bought 10 buoys or something like that, didn't we?
But you guys have never had any put out.
Have they been delivered?
No.
Does anybody know if they've even showed up?
I don't think we bought any.
I'm pretty sure that we did not buy any.
We didn't.
We were gonna go with what we had. They were gonna re-tape them or something.
Wasn't John Taylor gonna put it in? Or did
Was
we say we
supposed to.
couldn't?
I thought we agreed to buy
Was
some.
this year?
That was this
No.
year.
Was it? Okay.
You guys did not
I think it's
ever
come up at
replace
last
it.
meeting and it just got shuffled because you got too many things.
Yeah, and it was just said,
So-
put buoys on the next
Get
agenda.
it on the next agenda so we don't have to talk about this.
Several meetings ago, when we agreed to let somebody else go out and plant the buoys, he was supposed to talk to Mike and let him know how many more buoys we needed I talked to Mike, and just buying the buoy is only part of it. You also need the bucket, the concrete, the rebar, the rope, chain, whatever they use, hot rope, cable. At any rate, Mike was going to get a tally of how many we needed, if we needed any. I never heard back from Mike, so I assumed that meant we didn't need it.
Okay, I will check with Mike.
I'm sure that we need buoys out there. They're not all placed where they're supposed to be. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing to me that somebody is having to go out there on their own accord and do buoys that we can't get done.
Do we know who? You don't have to say a name, but do we know for a fact that that is a resident at the lake that did it, but not the resident that we hired?
I can confirm that.
Confirmation, yes.
Okay.
Well, then we can run us over to the swimming area. then.
Okay, next up is the Coldy Wall bid. I
You
think
guys have
that's,
it in your packet.
yes.
So, I've been calling him for a couple weeks prior to Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, and today right after. And he was supposed to email to Stephanie, which I guess I was not made aware of that till today. So I didn't even see this bid until I sat down here at this meeting tonight, or they didn't even know that it came in, because when I called him, he said, let me guess, you didn't get that bid? And I said, did you send a bid? He said, I did 10 days ago. I said, well, no, I did not.
Oh, sorry. I emailed it to everyone
Yep,
as soon
and-
as he sent it.
But I know I told you I
know.
hadn't, I know I
Sorry.
told you when you asked me about it that I hadn't seen it. I had seen it. I did double check my emails and it was there on the 18th.
Is that for the concrete?
So I guess,
And
what does
I
everybody
didn't-
else think of the bid?
The wall.
Because I don't have an opinion and I can't vote on it because I'm not.
It's there. I mean,
Why can't you vote on it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not
You just
making
got
any
the
money
bid.
off of it. You're not.
Well, I haven't read it,
You
so
don't
I
have
don't
skin in it.
know exactly the square footage of it all because I went out there and measured it. It was 175 foot. Then we talked about doing 236 feet because we go completely to the concrete wall of the entire front of that. So yeah, I'd have to look at this, but I mean, you guys can do what you want to do.
So let me ask you this, Brett, because you had the original contract under using the material from the original contract, and wasn't that like $52,000 for that?
51,000 wasn't it or something? I don't know.
And
And
you
so
did-
there's like
Yeah.
$1,000 difference.
Yeah. So
here.
this is
So a
a
little bit, I guess, is just a little bit.
As far as the vinyl piles versus the concrete.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But the concrete would be higher now because the quote's gone up for concrete, right?
He did not say that. No.
I assumed that.
The price of diesel's gone down, which has really affected the price of hauling concrete. But
Hmm.
whether or not that's, kind of trickled down and concrete.
So basically,
has
it's
actually gotten cheaper yet.
within $1,000 or $2, I guess, from just looking at it right now. And I don't like the look of the sheet piling. I think it's ugly. But it lasts considerably longer than the concrete will for the price.
So this says set up driver 195 linear feet. Our own choice of color. Set up, place, finish. 390 square feet of 6-inch sidewalk
Yeah, thick.
on top of piles.
Well,
Sidewalk would be
yeah, never mind. That's weird.
6 foot.
Yeah, I
Would
don't
there be
know.
a sidewalk on top?
Yeah, there has to have a cap on. That's how they cap the top. There's gonna be a sidewalk board on top, and that caps the
So
top.
it's a 6 foot sidewalk, 6 foot wide sidewalk.
6 inch.
Or is it a?
I say we go for it in green.
I think it's 6 inches. Isn't it?
6
I would think
inches.
6
Okay,
inches.
it's just a cap then, not a side. Really?
It was on a sidewalk.
Yeah, you get them up there climbing around on that thing. That's what
Well,
happened.
I mean,
Let's go for a walk out the lake. No, literally on the lake. Let's go for a walk.
I'm talking about the wall.
I know you are. I know.
All right, stairs. What are the stairs supposed to look like? Because that's something I've never gotten an answer for. 'Cause
Rounded.
the old
Stairs,
school were
They're
sideways.
supposed to be rounded, right?
And I thought these are supposed to be, are we doing them all the way across? Because I've been on a variety of different swim areas that do different things. So stairs all the way across or like steps, like, how big are they? It doesn't say. Oh,
half a
X is a,
circle stacked
sorry.
on top of a half a circle on top of a half a circle. Each one gets smaller as it goes up,
I
and two sets
understand
of
how
those.
stairs work.
Okay.
It
It's
says
just in the middle.
at 2 locations. It
Two
says.
locations.
I did-
Two locations.
there's-
They'll be.
Okay.
But
If
how
I
big are
remember
they?
right, he said that they'll be poured somewhere and then brought in and put in front of the wall that's put there.
Do we know the width on the staircases? Am I crazy for thinking these are details that we should have?
Or
Mhm.
I'd be more concerned with the depth.
Yeah, like the foundation.
Is there a time period on his bid?
Usually it's 30 days or less.
Like I said, I haven't read his bid, so you'd have to ask
I
the
mean,
rest.
if you
of
just
them.
gave it to us, give it to you guys today, it doesn't seem like it.
No, apparently everybody got it 10 days ago, Todd. I'm the only one that got it today.
We just pick
The
a color.
person getting the bid is the only one that got it today. Everybody else got it 10 days ago.
What
Sorry
are
you
the
don't have
color
email.
options?
Sorry that I've said that for about 2
Yeah, so
years.
why don't you get emails? Not that big a deal. Put it on my account. You can come to my house and look at it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to have to do that. My time, my effort. No,
Yeah,
not
our
gonna
time,
do
our
it.
effort as well. We
I'm
don't
not
wanna-
required to have an email to
Okay,
be on
then,
this
then quit
council.
griping that you don't have a copy of this. Seriously.
Okay,
Everybody's got an email, but you
Okay.
know what? But
we'll
you know
play it
what?
that way.
Hey, here we go. Colby
We're
will
not
look
answering
for
my
a
emails either way.
2-foot wide sidewalk cap over piles.
Yes, on the very last page, or the bottom
Very
of page
last
1
sentence, yeah.
of 2. I was just getting ready to point that out.
What colors are they, Tim? Do you know? I don't have that
There's
big green.
They don't, I don't think they pick one, do they? They say you guys choose.
Blue, green.
Yeah, we
I think
choose.
yellow, maybe.
There was like several, I think.
To me, I wouldn't care if it was blue or green. I don't like black because I think it'll get hot.
I think green probably looks like the water, so why not?
Or honestly, I figured it might end up getting covered with a thin cover of moss. And if it's green moss on top of blue, it might be a lot more evident. If it's green moss on green, you might not
You
notice
know
it.
what? I
Do you
agree
slip
with you
and fall?
there. Then you slip and fall. That's a great point.
Slip on the
Oh,
moss.
is that
It's gonna happen.
Oh,
Yeah,
Said
remember
that.
I like the contract as it's written here with him, but that's up to you guys
if they're
to.
gonna bring in the steps later, are there gonna be gaps between the wall and the steps where it doesn't line up straight? Maybe I just need to call them. I don't know. I have questions, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, in general, they do good work,
Yeah.
but
And I agree with that, but like,
Yeah,
are these things that I'm thinking about that really they'll be there and it's not a big deal, but it still doesn't look.
I'm sure JD will be happy to answer your questions, Annie.
Yeah, I'm.
He might even email them to you.
Well, if you got, I mean, you can't put it off, but you got December 12th is next meeting, and you got to see you on the 17th.
put in 30.
Do we have any idea when they may start?
Nothing it says, does it?
This doesn't really say.
We accept the bid now. Are they going to start like in spring?
It doesn't say.
We're not really up against like an opportunity type of situation like we were before, since these are kind of being
Dropped in.
dropped in and everything, right? Yeah.
We don't want them to wait until the spring rains. I'm sure they don't want to either.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to add that as a term, that you can do that. And say,
I'm ready to go with it. How you guys feel?
I mean, I guess it's been put off long enough.
Yeah.
So how many feet is it then, Tim? How many feet long is it?
Didn't you say it was 180?
195. Oh, so they're both piles.
I can get on Google Maps and see if it looks like 195 feet, just measuring it on there. It's pretty accurate. But
This says approximately.
hell, I'm gonna do it.
way to go, Rush.
Needs further discussion or a motion. Okay, lack of a motion, let's move on. No action taken. The December 26th council meeting. It's a Tuesday. I mean, it's a Monday after Christmas. Do we want to change that date?
Yes, 'cause I will.
We will not be here. We do not have work that day, just FYI. It says in the code.
I would not be.
You won't be in the state or you won't be here.
I'll be here.
Here,
But
The,
Doesn't matter.
the city's closed that day
Right.
for business, December
Some
26th.
Yeah.
So you guys want to do it on Tuesday, the 27th?
No, doesn't work for me.
Tuesday, December 27th, I'd be in a meeting on the phone.
You're going to be gone, Tim, is that you said?
No, I'm checking with my calendar right now.
Oh, okay.
Spouse calendar.
Are we free? 2 days after. Is observed. It's not the
That
holiday.
week is no man's land. Do we have to have a meeting that week?
Can just adjourn the meeting to the next.
Tim can make it.
Yeah. The only thing is if you have any bills that need paid.
Yeah, the last
I mean, you can
meeting
have
is
a
usually
really
like
short
half an hour
meeting.
long anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
No
fine.
promises.
Yeah.
Michelle will probably add something, I'm guessing.
Oh, sure, I always do, Tim.
I'm kidding.
It's always
It looks
her.
like you'll
So
have a-
mine.
She's the reason we're
So you
here.
have a
So
quorum on the
like,
27th, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I probably could do it.
On what day?
The 27th.
That Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't care. I've got the whole week. It doesn't really matter
Okay,
to me.
all right.
It's done.
So the December 26th council meeting will be moved to Tuesday, December 27th.
May need to-
Is that Todd?
I'm sorry, what?
But may need to put a notice on the door.
Okay,
when
yeah.
it comes in.
December 27th at 7 p.m.
What day is that? Terry?
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
to whoever asks questions, a Tuesday.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christmas is on Sunday this year. That's why we're closed on a Monday. Okay, last thing on the agenda is the McGivern update. Todd?
The Court of Appeals issued its mandate, which means that he has now, the clock is ticking on removing the dock in the walkway. His attorney has said he's going to remove the walkway, and they're trying to figure out how to remove the dock, but he asked specifically whether there's any permit requirements for doing that. I told him I don't think so, but I think you guys should impose a condition that somebody inspects it after it's removed to make sure that the shoreline is not left in a degraded state where it's just dirt and mud.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything requiring them to put down any type of, I might have to look at the order again, to restore it to its original condition, such as, but I think at the very least, somebody should put, some kind of grass seed, some kind
So
of.
they're not gonna restore it to its condition? Cause
I
like
thought
that
that was in
area
the
would have
agreement.
It
been.
might be in the order. I'm just saying, we're not asking for he doesn't need a permit to tear it out, but we need to have somebody inspect it when they're complete and removing it to make sure they're not leaving it in a state that is unacceptable.
He doesn't need a permit to remove it, but if he uses boats, he needs those permitted.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no boats are of issue here. We're just talking about them removing that. Do we want to impose, is it correct that I can tell his attorney that it needs to be restored and we need to have somebody inspecting it and get notice and inspect it after it's removed?
So that sidewalk is connected to the concrete wall.
Yeah, everything
So
removed up
literally
to,
the entire shoreline. And so all of that stone, natural stone ledge and everything that was there has already been tore out for that concrete. So there'll be nothing there. Grass will wash away. That isn't going to help, and absolute nothing. And there's absolutely no trees because they've cut down all of that vegetation. So what is going to be put on the shoreline that isn't going to cause?
what do you want? You want them to put rocks in there? Original, like,
I'd like to see the rocks stacked back in there, not rip wrap, just dumped haphazardly, but make it look like it used to.
so what did they have? They had natural like stone or, I mean, not like cut stone, like you
No,
get from.
it's not cut stone. It was boulders, like natural flint
No, it was the limestone shelf that runs all
Yeah.
along that whole shoreline there.
So limestone.
Yeah. And they were like 3 feet thick.
Well, okay, how does that get done?
Same
That's
way
the-
other people have done it when they haul in cut stone and they if their stone is not exposed, they haul in stone and they make stone walls. It happens all around the lake.
Yeah, I know. I just remember there being a bit of a kerfuffle about somebody putting on some very nice stone retaining wall, and sometimes, I mean, what you get from those locations is not rough tumbled stone. I don't think, right?
Right.
You get cut edge limestone.
It depends on what you pay for, of course.
You can get a rough face to it, I think.
Right. I mean,
Well, relatively rough.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You're
I
not
mean,
talking-
having them remove the concrete
still
and then getting them a pretty cut stone, like we want it natural, like not.
Yeah, well, and I'm assuming that we're not allowing him to get paved stone pavers from Menards. We're talking about some kind of natural stone cut locally.
Kind of like what drive through our town every.
Yeah,
yeah.
The drives
But the interpretation of
But
that with
even
people
bigger than
is,
that.
anyways.
Well, we'll just see how far this goes.
Hmm.
I mean, they've got to remove it. They got to remove both of them. We're just trying to figure out how we get back to that condition. And
What about the storage shed that's on the shoreline?
I have no idea. It wasn't addressed. I have no idea. Is it a storage shed?
Tim?
What?
Tim,
But
remember the storage shed?
I remember that it was brought up a couple meetings ago, but way back in the very beginning of all of this, I don't know that it was brought up at that time. I'm not saying it wasn't. I just don't remember anything about the storage shed until very recently.
Well, it's not in the. It was never talked about in the lawsuit. I don't have any.
So I guess that's would be a new case because there's no permit for it and it's there
Well, then that,
with concrete ran to it.
Just treat it like an offending structure.
yeah. I mean, if that isn't removed with it, I mean, I assume that they could take that structure up to their property if it was like a movable shed, right? Is it a like movable shed?
I mean, I suppose you could move it. I mean, you could move any of those houses if you really wanted to move them. But the concrete sidewalk, you wouldn't be able to move that. That they have ran to the shed.
Yeah, I
along the
understand. I'm
shoreline.
just saying that's got to be removed. So if that's I could mention it if that's still an issue to say that isn't permitted as far as we know, isn't.
Correct.
So it needs to be taken up to the property or they need to apply for permit.
How much damage is it gonna take to the shoreline to tear the wall out? What about just getting all of the excess concrete out except for just the wall? I know we don't want the wall because it's not natural, but if the dock is gone and the concrete's cut off of it, you don't tear it out and you don't lose your integrity of that shoreline, how much of a pain is that? Because obviously us out here don't know anything about this till now, because it's obviously must have been an executive session thing, because I've only heard about it 2 times.
Well, we got-
down there and here, so.
The city's got kind of a limited set of options here. It doesn't get to cast the order of the court as
Well, I
to its
know that, but what
preference.
did we ask for? Everything gone?
We want everything gone because that's everything
We have
that was
no choice.
built on there was built without
Okay,
clearance.
all right, thank you.
So it's all got to go.
So
But if
shouldn't
they
they
talk-
have to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers about what? I mean,
No, the court doesn't have anything to do with the shoreline. I mean, despite the fact that they sent the stupid letter, the court doesn't have jurisdiction unless they're dumping fill into the lake to build
Did they tear out
something.
the stone that was there?
hmm
Well, then they should have to put it back the way it was.
And I would assume, I mean, everybody says you need to check with the Army Corps of Engineers. We have to check with them with the swim beach wall. Other people have checked with them and had to build docks around that.
Do we?
We haven't checked. Nobody's that I know has checked with OG Wall.
We haven't done that yet, but we asked permission to remove that wall when we removed it, and
Well, what I'm saying
different
is,
things.
is the jurisdiction of the Corps of Engineers for the waters of the United States of America. Section 404 of the Clean Water Act is all about discharge of sediment and fill and things into the water. If they aren't by mission of action building something in the water or discharging it, it should not be core questions. And I don't want.
But they would be building it in the water when it's the shoreline and it's in the water.
And
Engineers or something like that.
Right.
why? Why do we want the Corps of Engineers determining what happens on your property, and to have another party that's regulatory and has authority over this lake?
I already thought that they were pretty regulatory over us anyway with our shoreline and restrictive in what we can do. Or why would anybody at the lake have called them to ask permission and then come
I
to
have
us
no
like
idea
they've done
what-
something? And we've
The
got
only
the
one
Army
person
Corps
I
of
know who's
Engineers.
ever contacted the Corps of Engineers in my time here has been McGivern's, and I have no idea why they did it.
Well, Cabin 80 Clark's that used to be, I forget who they are, they did that with theirs that came in.
I just always got it from Mike. I have no idea.
Have you,
We needed to.
have you ever seen it? It's not in the permit process.
No.
They don't
It's
have
not.
to provide it in the permit process. I mean, if we need to figure out what the jurisdiction of the Corps is, I'm all for it. I'm just saying there isn't
What I'm
there
saying
isn't
is,
a practical reason to insert somebody else's nose in this, especially when they have no incentive to grant anybody anything in this system. Okay.
I say
I mean-
let's just make them put the
So how I was saying is they're pretty into protecting the shoreline and the environment and the species and all of that. No?
No,
Okay.
they
don't care?
They don't care. They're involved in rubber stamping pieces of paper, and they're involved in gigantic water projects, reservoirs, and discharging water and fixing those places. And otherwise, they cannot be bothered.
Todd, can I ask hopefully just a yes or no question from you?
Yes, that's the answer.
Oh, good. Let's say tearing out what's there. Let's say it's going to cost them $20,000. Replacing, putting in the stone, whatever, making it back in natural. That's going to cost them $20,000. Is there any way the city can say, just give us $40,000 and leave the sidewalk to preserve the shoreline?
Well, that wasn't the order of the court. I can't imagine if anything could be agreed to if we signal to the court that we're okay with the result. But whether or not that's what everybody wants here, I don't know.
So I wonder if it was
aim high.
Huh?
It was just a hypothetical. I was just
was-
wondering if it was even legal.
Well, I mean, it's got a number of problems with it too. I understand the money's there, but if you let it exist and continue to exist,
I'm not a big fan of it anyway. I just wanted to throw it out there.
okay. Well,
I would think the court would have wanted us to make that deal before it got to the court.
probably, but the answer is no. So I think I got a response. So I'll make it to the attorney. We'll go from there, and I understand the commission here.
I say just make them.
All right. Last thing I got is under mayor concerns. I just want to update everybody. Delinquent account. There's two things I want to tell you about this. The amount that's due the city, all told, is now down to $18,512. Of that amount, $14,607 is the delinquent amount. So we've made a heck of an improvement in the last month and a half or 2 months from 80,000. So I'm real pleased to report that. The question I've gotten out, and I asked about this earlier tonight before the meeting, is if we could take some of these people to small claims court, or can we go about getting this, some action taken to where these folks that owe us big money can get that big money paid to us. Basically, if I understood right, is that our choice basically is to hire an outside collection firm that might charge anywhere from 20 to 30% to recover the money. Or, as I understand it, we turn some people in to the state and they put it on a list where they collect any income tax refund these people might have, and then we get
Set-off program.
and what you call it?
Set-off program.
Set-off program. However, the state charges what, 17%? Is that what they charge?
I don't know if it's that much. It might be somewhere in there.
But
I'd have to
there's a
look. I would look
percentage
for a
there.
while.
So my
There's a
question
small
is, do we, I don't like looking at this. I really don't. I'd be glad to show it to anybody that wants to see it on the council. But, if somebody owes us $3,000, there's a pretty good chance that if they haven't made a payment in the last 2 years, then they're not going to make one. So I'm willing to get it turned over to try to at least get something out of it, rather than let it slide and let it slide and let it slide.
Well, there can't be too many people at $3,000.
I just pulled that one out of the air because that's one of them down here.
At the high point.
That's a high point.
Okay.
Because the gentleman that came into my work today at the liquor store, that was about.
Yeah, and that's okay. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. Because I printed off today, came down and printed off that individual's payment history since 2013. And the payment history of this young fella is that he makes a payment once or twice a year. He doesn't make his payment every month like a lot of folks do on their utility bill. And why somebody doesn't set it up for an automatic payment, I don't know. It's his choice if you don't want to do that. But the complaint was that we didn't notify him, and therefore he wasn't aware that he
His
owed that.
monthly bill.
His monthly bill, it's right here.
Because they kept coming back in the mail.
So my point in telling you this is, when I looked at his history,
Not my fault.
there's two things I want to point out. First of all, you see the yellow tags on these bills?
Right.
This is our utility bill that was mailed to him, and it was returned to our office as no mail receptacle. So the post office had no place to deliver it. This started in June of this summer. So prior to that, he was getting his bills prior to June. So why they took the mailbox out, I don't know. The mailing address, as we found out, is in another city. So we got that part fixed. We got that part fixed. But I just find it hard to believe that somebody who's made payments once or twice a year since 2013 doesn't know that they have a utility bill to pay. So anyway.
He was just wanting to know why we don't send out late payments or contact people or whatever. That's what he
did.
wanted.
And that's my point.
Because I asked him and he said, no, you did not.
Well, here's proof that we
did.
did right here. This is proof that we did. And that's my point in bringing this. I was hoping he would show up tonight because
I was
What's he
too.
want?
Because
But he wanted to.
exactly. And I also went as far because he was due to be turned off this summer. And then I was told, no, you don't want to turn that individual off. And
That
so
wasn't
we
me,
didn't.
by the way. 'Cause
No.
I didn't
And
know
so
about it.
then I went and Julie actually got me his phone number from the Lake directory. And I called the numbers on there and nothing. So like aside from me like going and knocking on his personal door, which I had no idea where it was because it wasn't going to his correct address. I
Did you
mean,
mention
I can
phone number?
only-
Did you mention the phones?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
Good. And the utility bill has a notice that we're going to disconnect him if they don't pay it. So we can't give him the notice if he doesn't have a mailbox. And if he doesn't have the responsibility to tell us where his mailing address is, what are we supposed to do?
Turn off his water.
Exactly.
Right.
Or his gas or whatever it is that they've got going. You're exactly right. That's what we need to do.
Can you do it now though? Because
Nope,
of
I think the
weather?
guy's going to come in and pay it.
I need to too.
Did you talk to him today
Mhm.
after he talked to me?
Probably before.
So he's going to pay the late fees?
No, I took him off.
$7.
Okay.
63 cents. We won't be
Standard
exact.
customer service. You didn't receive the bill, you take off the penalty.
So, do we have any people in town that need to be cut off that are supposed to be cut off as far as city utilities and bills go? Like how many people are cheating the system with free utilities currently at the moment?
Well, there's only one person that I'm aware of. I don't think you told me this was not around, right?
No, they are.
But
They're on the
they're
payment
they're on a payment plan. Okay.
Mhm.
And there's one
Off, yeah.
there's one that's supposed to be off, but we haven't been able to verify yet that they have a meter that's gone. We understand that the meter was taken away, but I also understand that they may have come up with another meter from somewhere and reinstalled it themselves. And
So how long has this issue been going on?
2 months
scary.
easily, since September at
Well,
least.
that's a crime.
It is a crime, and
I'm thinking more May. Probably.
Well, yeah, but as far as me being aware of it, I wasn't aware of it until September. Okay. And I think we talked about that in September, and we directed our city boys to go out there and double check the meter, but they can't go out there to double check it because these people have a dog that is interfering with their ability to do their job. So they were supposed to get with the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department was supposed to come out and meet them out there so they can get this verified. That has not taken place yet. So other than that one, there's one other person, this one right here.
So
That
will that take another 2 months, or is that something that's
I
going to
hope,
be
I hope
happening?
not. I hope not.
Who's the one that's in charge of getting that done? Like,
Mike.
who's overseeing that?
Mike's supposed to be taking care of that.
The cops are supposed to.
Is he informed of all of this
Oh, yeah.
information? Like, if I talk to Mike tomorrow, he's going to know all of this?
He should know every bit
Because a
of
lot
it,
of
yeah.
times he doesn't know.
He might tell you you don't know, but he does. He knows about this.
He- yeah.
I've even talked to him myself, and he wrote it down in this book of things to do. That's a horse of a different color too. So anyway, that's where we're at on that. And with the individual you talked with at your business earlier today. That's all I've got.
I move to adjourn.
Wait,
I have something.
Okay.
I have something. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just wondering if anybody had thought about when we're gonna schedule our elected officials Christmas dinner.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Justin, were you gonna ask the same thing?
I've already kind of intervened a little bit with, one of the people that worked down there at Hilda's. Actually, I talked to Aisha quite a while ago. She said that she would be game to try it back months ago. I haven't spoken with her recently. I think Brett has. Am I right, Brett?
That's correct.
Okay. You guys take it from there. I'll just sit here and listen and let the conversation go.
She has no time to do it this month. It will be in January if we want to do it.
No time in December.
Correct.
Do you want to do wild olives?
Not opposed.
I'm not. And we've never done wild olives. I'm just.
That's because they don't pay taxes in town.
Yeah, but.
They don't pay our 1% sales tax.
No, we just get it right. Well, we don't even pay tax, but yeah, that's what percent.
She buys her groceries through my store. She
Yeah.
gets gas from the gas
She
station.
donated a whole meal for our park thing.
Local
Yeah,
enough.
we used to go out there all the time when Lisa had the joint. Of course, we didn't have a sales tax at that time. Is that why we're not going out there? Is because she doesn't pay a 1% sales tax?
No, we just always
No.
wanted to use the business that was in Eskridge
No,
in our
we used
town.
to do it every other year, Brett.
I've
Go
never
out
had a
there
Christmas
one year.
party at the lake in the 10 years I've been on the council.
Well, you haven't been on it for a long
Yeah,
time.
All right, well, let's just hash out this year's.
Things were so different before they all changed.
What did you say?
It was profound. I can't believe it.
Just nonsense. Tim nonsense.
What?
It's just Tim, you know.
Tim sense.
There you go.
Okay, has anybody
I
talked
just
to
wouldn't
Julie?
want Aisha in the cafe to have hard feelings because she has to wait till the second week of January to do it.
Well, if the idea is for a Christmas meal, it probably should be prior to Christmas, I would think.
I don't know.
Wouldn't be the first time we've had it after Christmas.
You were at one of those, Terry,
Last year I was. That was in December though.
after Christmas.
No, it wasn't.
It was a week before. Or
It's
a few
never been in
days,
January when
maybe-
I've done it.
Maybe a few days before.
19th, I believe.
I think
No,
we're
but they've been like in between
Sounds like-
there and New
I-
Year's.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It
Would
wasn't
that-
last year.
Would that have been a Sunday last year?
No, I think
It's a
you guys
Monday,
had
I
it on.
believe.
We usually do them on a week.
I thought we had it on a weeknight.
If
too.
Justin's done, I still move to adjourn.
What's your question, Justin? Or yours?
Well, I was gonna just say I received an answer on CDBG at like right after the meeting. It was like 10 o'clock email. So as far as the deadlines and everything, I think February deadlines for most things. However, the housing piece of it is that deadline, or there's no deadline essentially. It runs through all of 2023. So that could be something that we could go for 2023. I think back to the time when they did two pieces of the city. They basically divided the city up into three pieces. Did a first piece, did a second piece. I can't remember which order they did it in. But the third piece, they intended to apply for a housing grant on that. They never did. I'm not sure the reason. I think it was just, there just wasn't any interest in the program on behalf of the residents. I don't know why that is. I don't know if people didn't qualify and they were interested or what, but
No, they were, no, just, they were
Yeah.
interested. There was some reason Donna didn't go after it.
okay. I thought it was that.
There was a
That
lot,
there
there
just
was some
wasn't
problems
interest.
with the second trench.
Okay, so-
People- Contractors were not doing the job right.
Something like
Okay.
that.
So I don't know. I mean, those programs basically, I know we got some streets paved. We also used money for, like direct payments to contractors for housing upgrades. Somebody would go inspect them, write up a list, and basically that got bid on and got done. But I think that would be something that we could actually go for and potentially get. I think we would probably have to do an LMI survey first. I don't know if we would have to do an engineering report. I don't see why, unless I guess streets were involved. But so I don't know anybody's opinion. Maybe it's something that we just think about. Because we do have time. I just don't want it to fall by the wayside again and have another year where we don't apply for these things, because it seems like people are getting them around us. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of what I know at this point. Probably the competitive grants though, like infrastructure, water, sewer, those types of things, wouldn't be possible because of those deadlines are early in the year now. So,
Okay.
and also I was going to ask, were we going to take any action on Colgan? Were we going to wait?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot to ask that too. I wondered the same thing.
Is that, and I don't know, are we on the pay as you go or are we on the,
I feel like
on the monthly plan?
that's a new model.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
pay monthly.
Okay, we do, and it's like a level amount.
It's like 700, yeah, a month.
Okay,
But that's going up.
Yeah.
January.
yeah, kind of expect.
That's why I asked him when the contract expires.
Yeah.
It did say the end of December, so you probably could
Okay,
We
put
could
it
do
back on the agenda and
Yes,
if you want to pre it next meeting.
yeah, yeah, that sounds good. I'm kind of for that plan where we take some responsibility for the server
Yeah.
and that. I don't know. It looked like it worked out to about the same. I mean, if you take that $45,000 that he ballparked, it costs that, and break it out over 60 months, it ends up being $750 a month. You add that in, and it's actually less than the 5-year or 7-year, but you figure the costs are going to go up on the tail end of that. So, at some point you're probably going to end up passing that. So that's probably what he's done is base that. It sounds like it's about the same amount. It's just, the benefit of being levelized and, potentially, always knowing what you're going to pay, predictable. So, I don't know. I could go either way with that, but I do think we should be on at least the one monthly plan.
minimum, yeah.
Yeah. So,
All right. Don't
That's all
forget,
I say.
next week, December 5th at 7.
Sorry,
Capital
what?
expense meeting for the next 1, 3, and 5 years.
It's Terry's budget meeting.
Remember we talked about that last meeting. We set it up for December 5th, 7 p.m.
I'm sure we'll be able to talk about only budget stuff and not be disrupted with anything else. I move to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Good night, Tim.
Okay, got 2 questions for you.
Oh, let me turn that.
Okay.
Is your budget meeting just gonna be a budget meeting? Cause I like to stay home and take a nap.
Well, what we're supposed to talk
What are we
about,
doing in here?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
what we're supposed to be talking about is what we are projecting for the next 1, 3, and 5 years.